Hello. I'm still trying to understand why this won't let me. Allow invitations. I don't know how to do it.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
good. I'll be here, and
Okay.
like I have Bell, but I'll be here. And if we get lots of people talking, then I'll just step down, let them in. But at least
Okay.
you'll have people up on the panel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is Nathan not coming at all, or?
Yeah, but I just sent him an invite. He's
Oh,
on.
good, good.
He
Oh,
should be
good.
in
That's
up in a
perfect.
second.
And Sally's coming.
Yeah, Sally's supposed to be here. Hadn't seen
Okay,
her yet.
perfect. Good.
Yeah, I'm just sending out some shares and stuff like that.
I'm gonna connect my headset.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'm gonna send one
I'm gonna
to my
get to be a
son
pro
to.
at this, aren't I? I
You
wish I could
are.
figure out how to do Nathan as the co-host on my tablet. I can do it on the computer, but I don't know how to do it on the tablet. And
I
I
know it's all
cannot find the
twisted around.
control. It's not very user
It's weird.
friendly, you
No, it's
know?
not. No.
Everybody else shows up in the list for co-hosts except for him.
Well, you know what's funny is your live thing doesn't even show up to me. If you
Really?
didn't send a, yeah, no, the only thing that it does, like, I thought maybe around your name it would like turn red like most of them, but
Right.
it doesn't until after you add me.
So wild.
I know, just it's weird. It's random. It just does whatever it wants. Hi, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon.
Yes, Nick and I are going to try to talk to Shannon tomorrow. Tomorrow sometime we'll get together on a chat and try to fix this problem with not being able to download or see the PDFs.
Oh, that'd be good. Maybe I'll get it figured out.
Yeah, well, Nick knows more than I do.
Yeah, I'm not very computer savvy. I do okay, but I'm not that
Yeah,
great at it.
basics, eh? Yeah, it's like me. I get trained how to do something and then I have to just remember it.
Mm-hmm.
So, so what are you on now?
I'm
Oh,
on my tablet and I'm shooting the camera at the big screen because I
okay.
cannot get the stuff pulled up and be on the big computer at the same time. It
No,
puts me on
no.
pause. So it's
Okay.
like, but I can shoot my screen like this, like a picture from the tablet,
Mm-hmm.
the camera. So what I've got the
Yeah.
camera shooting on the screen.
Well, it works.
It's better than them not being able to see what I'm reading too. I'm
Yeah.
still waiting on Sally a
Nathan
minute.
Nathan is asking, what's the music? I don't hear any music. Oh, maybe it's no. I was gonna say, I don't think you can hear my TV through my
I hear
headphones.
something playing. I don't know what it is.
Well, let me mute myself for a second and see if it's mine.
Yeah, that stopped it.
Oh, so it was my house? Really? That's weird. Okay, well, I'm gonna mute myself anyway,
Okay.
and but I am here. Okay.
Okay.
No worries, I'm here too.
I'm giving Sally a second. She should be here in a minute. We've had a lot of people showing up. That's great. And I didn't even get a notice out like I usually do today. I just forgot. Trying to finish up these other videos has been like a lot of work. How was your day, Nathan?
I just helped my friend fix his car and just worked.
Bless your heart. Hopefully you're
Yeah.
not too tired. There she is. I don't know if I hit it quick enough. Yeah, I did. I got it.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's everybody?
All right. Bella was going to do a live today, and she decided not to, and because she got a side job, and she's probably not going to be here till later. She said she probably wouldn't be coming up, but she would, be listening.
I know how that is. It's for me, it's like if I've got work or something calls, it's like I have to go do it.
Yeah, it's your livelihood.
I worked all day.
Oh, bless your
Yeah,
heart.
me too.
It's okay.
Maybe we can hold it at like 2 hours tonight then, so everybody gets to bed earlier.
No, I'm
I'll just
good.
go and
Okay.
I can sleep in tomorrow.
Sam couldn't
me-
believe I
yeah,
was
me
doing it
too.
again tonight. He was like, oh, wow. I found something today I wanted to read. This was on somebody else's live, and I was like, wow. I mean, it pretty much says it all. And she just had the one verse up there, but I was like, I couldn't believe this because I don't remember reading this when I was reading the Old Testament. So I thought I was going to read that before I started the other. I'm going to pull it over here so we can see it. I put it on a WordPad so I could read it easier. Have y'all read this chapter recently?
Which chapter is it?
2 Chronicles 15.
Not lately.
I'm going to start with this because she had one verse pulled up on her live, and I did a double take. I was like, what did that just say? It's like, but I'm going to read it real quick, and it's, uh-oh. Y'all hear me?
I hear you.
We hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. It was just y'all muting, I guess. It made it sound like I was going dead. 2 Chronicles 15. And the Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa, and said unto him, Hear me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin, the Lord is with you. While ye be with you, and if ye seek him, he will be found of you, and if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Now, for a long season, Israel has been without a true God, and without a teaching priest, and without a law. But when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord God of Israel, and sought him, he was found by them. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, or to him that came in, and great vexation were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. And nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city, for God did vex them with all adversity. Be ye strong therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. And when Asa heard these words, and the prophecy of Oded, and the prophet, he took courage, and put away the abominable idols out of the land of Judah and Benjamin, and out of the cities which he had taken them from Mount Ephraim, and renewed the altar of the Lord that was before the porch of the Lord. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh and out of Simeon, for they fell to them out of Israel in abundance. And they saw that the Lord his God was with him. So they gathered themselves together at Jerusalem in the 3rd month, in the 15th year of the reign of Asa, and they offered unto the Lord at the same time of the spoil which they had brought 700 oxen and 7,000 sheep. And they entered into a covenant to seek the Lord God of their fathers with all their heart and with all their soul, that whosoever would not seek the Lord their God of Israel should be put to unalivement, whether small or great, or whether man or woman. Have y'all ever read that part? what he's saying is anybody that does not seek Yahweh Elohim of Israel should be put to unalivement.
I've read that one before.
I had missed that somehow. And
Really?
and they swore unto the Lord with a loud voice, and shouting, and trumpets, and cornet oath, for they had sworn with all their heart, and sought him with their whole desire. And he was found of them, and the Lord gave them rest round about. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but I thought I wanted to read enough of the context so people could understand what was being said. They swore an oath. It's like, and whosoever is not going to seek their Lord God of Israel would be put to unalignment. That's
And we're not
unreal.
supposed to take any oaths. I mean, that's just very clear right there.
Right. I know. Then I saw something else today, too. Y'all know how I am.
Say, oh, that's
pull
just
that
how
up,
it
too.
was back then, and God changes his mind.
I know. Sometimes I get off into the Targums because that was the common man's Torah, for the everyday person in Israel. So I read these verses in the regular, and then I read them in the Targum. And I'm going to read both because it's really interesting how they're very similar, but they left a little bit of it out. It's Genesis 3:17 through 19. I know this is veering off a little bit, but I just want people to see the harshness that, that you see once you understand what's happening, that we've really been betrayed. And I think the whole deception in Revelation that he deceives the whole world was to send everybody to Yahweh. But in Genesis 3:17 through 19, and he said to the man, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat, the ground shall be cursed because of you. You shall eat it in sorrow all the days of your life, and it shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plant of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for you have been taken out of it, and you are dust, and to dust you shall return. There's no hope in that. I mean, that's just like, just throw you to the thorns, and you're not going to have anything to eat, and you're going to sweat. But it's even worse when you read it in the Targum. It's like, he said, but to Adam, he said, because thou hast hearkened to the word of thy wife, and hast eaten the fruit of the tree, of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Accursed is the ground in that it did not show thee thy guilt, and labor thou shalt eat of it all the days of your life, and thorns and thistles will it put forth, and increase the amount of thee, and thou shalt eat the herb which is on the face of the field. And Adam answered, I pray through mercies from before thee, O Yahweh, that we may not be accounted as the cattle to eat the herb of the face of the field. Let us stand up and labor, and the labor of our hands, and eat food and the food of the earth. And thus let us be a distinction before thee between the children of the men and the offspring of the cattle. By the labor of thy hand thou shalt eat food until thou turn again to dust, from which thou wert created. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. For from the dust it is to be that thou art to arise, to render judgment and reckoning for all that has done in the day of the great judgment. So that's where they get that you're not going to rise until the great judgment at. Instead of what Jesus said, where you pass directly from unalignment to everlasting life. But I just thought that was interesting. Well, I'll get back on track. Y'all know how I am. I put it in this video so I don't forget to do it. I think this is where we left off, I think. No, we did that one. Oh yeah, we hadn't done this one yet. It in there in Revelation it says, "I will give the power to my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth." And these are the olive trees and the two lampstands standing before the Lord of the earth. If anyone desires to harm them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devours their enemies. If anyone desires to harm them, he must be unalived in this way. And these have the power to shut heaven and that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. And they have the power over water to turn them into blood and to strike the earth with all the plagues as often as they will. And you know, it's like the same day that Lot went out, they did the fire and brimstone from heaven that destroyed everybody too. And that was actually Yahweh when you look at Genesis 19:24. But interesting enough, we have verses that tell us, oh, y'all can't see that. I got it too far. Sorry about that. We have verses that, so that you may be sons of the Father who is in heaven, for he makes the sun rise on the evil and the good, and he sends the rain on the just and the unjust. But then we see Yahweh in Deuteronomy saying, the anger of the Lord will be kindled against you, and he will shut up the heavens so that there will be no rain. And the same thing is in Deuteronomy 28:24. And the Lord will make the rain of your land powder, and the heaven dust shall come up on you until you are all destroyed. And you know, Jesus said, he said that the enemy comes only to unalive, destroy, and steal. 1 Kings 8:35-36. When the heaven is shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against you. So everywhere in, I know there's another one in Isaiah too that I didn't even put on there, but he's constantly threatening to cut off the rain, you know, to people. And then Jesus tells his Father in heaven doesn't do that. Okay. I don't know why I may have it too big or something. No? Yeah, there we go. That's hard to read, isn't it? Okay, both the dragon and Yahweh burn up the grass. Revelation 8:7. And the first angel sounded the trumpet, and there followed hail and fire, mingled with blood, and it was cast on the earth, and a third part of the earth was burned up, and a third part of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. And then we have Jesus in Luke 12:28 saying, but is how God clothes the grass of the field, which today exists and tomorrow is cast in the oven. How much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? Don't seek after what you will eat or what you will drink, neither be anxious, for the nations of the world seek after all these things. But your Father knows what you need, that you need these things. But seek God's kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. Don't be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So that's just almost total polar opposite. Then in Deuteronomy we have burning it with brimstone and with the heat of salt, so that it cannot be sown any more, nor any green thing grow therein, after the example of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord destroyed in his wrath and indignation. It's just wild. And then in Isaiah 46, we see this is happening again toward the end times. It's like the voice of one saying, cry. One said, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass, and all glory is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, because Yahweh's breath blows on it, and surely the people are like grass. So he's even saying that we're the grass that's going to be killed. Yep. I hope these are making
Yeah, it
sense to
does.
everybody. I
Yeah.
think they do. Because I've been trying to correlate everything to figure out, make sure that I was right. And when I got to 40 of them, I said, well, I guess I'm pretty much right. Let's see. Both the dragon and Yahweh have a cup of wrath. Revelation 14:10. He also will drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is prepared unmixed in the cup of his anger. He will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And then it says in Revelation 18:6, return to her just as she returned, to repay her double, for she did, and according to her works. In the cup which she mix it to her double. Okay, get on the other side so I can see the other side of the card. Jeremiah 25:15, and thus says the Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, the cup of wine of his fury at my hand, and thou shalt make all the nations drink thereof, into which I shall send these, and they shall drink and be troubled, and be mad because of the sword which I am sending among them. And then I took the cup of Yahweh's hand, took the cup at Yahweh's hand, and made all the nations to drink from to whom Yahweh had sent me. Jerusalem, the cities of Judah, and its kings and its princes, to make them a desolation, an astonishment, a hissing, and a curse, as it is today. You shall tell them, Yahweh of armies, or Yahweh of hosts in a lot of Bibles, the God of Israel says, drink and be drunk, vomit, fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I am sending among you. It shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at the hand to drink, then they shall tell them, Yahweh of armies says, you shall surely drink. For behold, I begin to work evil at the city which is called by my name. And should you be utterly unpunished, you will not be unpunished, for I call for the sword and for the inhabitants of the earth, says Yahweh of hosts. I mean, that's just, to me, that all smacks of evil stuff. Okay. Both the dragon and Yahweh have deceived the whole world. And I believe this with all my heart because I see it every day. I'm going in these lives and I'm listening to people arguing, but it's Yahweh's about, yeah. They go back and forth, back and forth. And I had one man even tell me, I asked him, I said, if your child was rebellious, he was following Hebrew roots. I said, if your child's rebellious, could you take them out to the wall of the fence and stone them for that? And he said, yes. And he was just real blunt, just matter of fact. I was like, I'm not believing this. But we're gonna go ahead and continue reading. It said, the great dragon was thrown down, the old serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Revelation 18:23. And the light of the candle shall shine no more in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For the merchants of the great men of the earth, for by the sorceries all the nations were deceived. And then in Matthew 24, and Jesus answered him and said, take heed that no man deceive you, for many will come upon my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they shall deceive many. And that's not many Christ coming. He's actually warning that they're going to call him the Christ, and that's going to be the deception. Because when you do that, you make Jesus Yahweh's son. And verse 24 actually reads in Greek, for there shall arise false followers of the Christ and false prophets, and they shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch of it as if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Okay, when we look at Yahweh, does he set out to deceive? And the Lord said to him, this is Kings 22:22. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. And the Lord said to him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail, so go forth and do so. So he's planning on sending out lying spirits in the mouth of the prophets. 1 Kings 22:23. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. Then we see the same thing in 2 Chronicles 18:21 and 22. And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt prevail. Go out and do even so. And then therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of these prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil against thee. And then in Ezekiel 20:25, this is Yahweh speaking. He said, moreover, I gave them statutes that were not good, and rules by which they could not have life. And I defiled them through their very gifts in their offerings and up of their firstborn, and I might devastate them. I did it that they might know that I am Yahweh. He did all that. He said he gave them laws where they wouldn't have eternal life, and he also had them offering up their firstborn just so they would know his name. He says that over and over. They'll know my name. They'll know my name. It's wild. I think, yeah, this is, I just going to mention real quick that we have 3 major religions of the whole planet. So I think he deceived everybody, because it's like, it's covered basically the whole world. And it's like, they're all Abrahamic religions that worship Yahweh in one form or another. Judaism worships Yahweh. The Old Testament Christians and do the same. And then the Muslims are following Allah, which is basically Yahweh. It's his name flipped upside down. It's the same person. Okay, 5 more minutes. I'm trying to stick at 30 minutes. Both the dragon and the devil, Yahweh, have a furnace that they burn things up. Let's see, Matthew 13:37. He answered, the one who sows the good seeds is the Son of Man, and the field is the world, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Just as the weeds are gathered and burned with the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all the causes of sin and lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let them hear. And then when we look at Yahweh, he's basically saying the same things. Exodus 19:18, and Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, and Yahweh descended upon it in the fire, and the smoke went up in the smoke of a furnace, and the mountain trembled exceedingly. Then Psalms 21:9, you make them as a furnace of fire. In the time of your presence, Yahweh does swallow them up with his wrath, and the fire does consume them. Ezekiel 22:20, and they shall gather their silver, bronze, iron, and lead into the midst of the furnace, to blow the fire on it to melt it. And I will gather in my displeasure and in my wrath, and I shall blow and melt you. I shall gather you and blow you with the fire of my wrath, and you shall be melted in the midst. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, you are melted in the midst, and you shall know that I Yahweh have poured out my wrath on you. It's real lovely, isn't it? Let's see. Both the dragon and Yahweh used signs in heaven. Revelation 12:1. And a great sign was seen in heaven, a woman clad with the sun, the moon under her feet, and her head and crowned with 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And then Revelation 12:3, and another sign was seen in heaven. And see, a great fiery dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his head. And his tail draws down a third of the stars of the heavens and throws them onto the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. Now, let's look at Yahweh. He tells us that's what he uses. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament and in the heaven, to give light upon the earth, and to divide between the day and the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. And let them be for light in the firmament of the heaven, so as to shine. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he does say he uses them for signs and seasons. Let's see one more. Both the dragon and Yahweh cause all that dwell to mourn. Matthew 24:30. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man. That's a sign. All the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And note that that's the Son of Man. That's not Jesus Bar Abba. That is the Son of Man, I believe, is JC. Then when we look at Amos 9, it says, if they go into captivity before their enemy, there I will command the sword, and I shall unalive them, and I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not for good. And the Lord, the God of hosts, is he who touches the earth, and it shall melt, and all that dwell there shall mourn, and it shall rise up as a river, and shall run down as the river of Egypt. So both of them do the same thing, making everybody mourn. How am I doing on time?
Time's up. No. You're good.
Okay, this is a big one. We'll do this one too. Because if they don't understand these comparisons, then they're not going to understand how I'm seeing this. Both the dragon, Yahweh, owns all that's in the world. Both of them do. The dragon, let's see, Luke 4:5. And the devil took him up on a high mountain, showed him all the reigns of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, all the power will I give thee, and glory for them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomever I will give it. So he's saying he owns everything. He'll give it to Jesus if he'll just bow down to him. Okay, and notice if you read the whole thing, he refused. He didn't do it. Well, when we look at at Yahweh, you can see that he owns everything. Oh gosh, I got this one in the old form. Elohim Yahweh shall speak, and he shall call the earth from the rising of the sun to the going down. From Zion, the perfection of the loveliness, Elohim shall shine forth. Our Elohim comes and is silent. A fire consumes before him, and he shall be a very stormy all about him. I do not reprove, for your slaughterings and ascending offerings are continually before me. I do not take a bull from your house, nor goats or pens, for every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the mountains, that all moving in the field is mine. If I were hungry, I would not speak to you, for the world is mine and all that fills it. And you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be with the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen, and 7 seasons shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High is ruler in the reigns of men, and he gives to whomever he wishes. So he's saying everything in the world belongs to him. we don't need to give him anything because he's got it all anyway, and he gives it to whoever he wishes. I think I'll stop there. Maybe if we do one more, we can do all 40 of them. What do y'all think?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm just trying to tap the screen, give you some likes. Hopefully get some more people
thank
in here.
you. Thanks, everybody. We don't have very many in here.
No, we got 15 people in here.
That's not bad. Does anybody want to come up and ask questions again, or talk about what we've talked about so far? Hey, Vic, I didn't see you come in. I was reading.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Yeah, how's everybody doing?
Doing pretty good.
Enjoyed. Little connection problem. I'm in the house. I got a better connection out in the shop out there. But at any rate, yeah, that's interesting. Matt, just JC and you all over that. Wow, and he owned everything.
You wouldn't think there was that many things that coordinate, you know?
Right. And you know, we want to, so that kind of, if he says he owns everything, you know, get back to Genesis 1, it kind of verifies all that as well. And, you know, out of the dust of the earth and everything, we all want to believe that, and believe that's
You're breaking up pretty bad. I'm only hearing.
Yeah, you did break up pretty
every
bad.
little word. Yeah, just wait till you have a decent connection. We'll listen to you. But yeah, if anybody does want to come up, please feel free to come up. You can ask questions, talk.
Hey, Tammy, I saw Tammy's little puppy dog there. Oh, that's great.
Hello,
It's like Parker wants to come up.
Peace, what's going on?
Were you listening, or did you have questions, or?
No, honestly, just popped in probably like 2 minutes ago.
All right, we're talking about Yahweh being the dragon, the difference between Yahweh and Jesus being the Father, and Jesus and the Father he came to reveal. We're comparing and contrasting those texts. We've been doing it for the past 3 nights.
So y'all are coming from what standpoint with Jesus being the Son of Man that came 2,000 years ago?
You said Jesus. Well, we don't think we think that there's 2 Jesuses. But we do think Jesus is the Father. Yes.
We believe that Yahweh is the dragon, the evil one from Revelation, and that there's 2 Jesuses, and one of them is Jesus Christ, and the other one is Jesus Bar Abba, which means Son of the Father. Because we've got a lot of we have some Bibles that give both. I don't know if you were at when we talked about the 2 different ones and how they're different. But we think one of them was born of a virgin and one of them was sent by the Father in heaven. And what we're doing is comparing all the things, the attributes of the dragon in Revelation to what Yahweh does in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Have y'all covered Revelation 5, verse 3? Or are y'all just doing a Revelation?
let me look at it and I can tell you what we have. Let's see. Because I kind of skipped around on these. It's just, these were comparisons I did with my Bible study, and they're not in like great order. Let's see. And no man in heaven on earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book. Neither. No, we hadn't covered that one yet.
If you don't mind, can we read 5 and 3 to all the way till 9, and just see what I just want to see what you guys
Like
think about it.
5:3 to 5:9.
Yeah, 5:3 to 5:9.
Let's see. Open this up some so I can see it. There we go. Ooh. Let's see. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within, and on the backside sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming in a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and to loosen the seals thereof? And no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, and neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book, and to loosen the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood the Lamb, as it was slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits that God sends forth into the earth. And I came and took the book out of the hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, and the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers and saints. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book, and to open the seals thereupon. For thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred, tongue, and people and nation.
Well, see, that's a very powerful scripture that you just read. I really was just wanting to see what is your standpoint when you read that scripture? What does that tell you? I could give you mine. I was gonna ask.
Yeah, tell me what you think first, and then if I think different, I'll tell you.
So the book that is sealed, that has the 7 seals, all books. So the Bible is actually a sealed book, and so that's why I was kind of confused when y'all said y'all believe there's 2 Jesuses, because there's one mediator between man and God, and that is Christ Jesus. So I was just wanting you to read that scripture, because that's going to be the lamb who was
the lamb,
found
the
worthy
sacrifice,
to,
right? Who's God
hold
to
on,
you?
let me finish real quick, please. The lamb that was found worthy to unseal the book was going to be Christ, and we all know he's coming back. You know, God is going to make his return, and he's going to use his son Christ, and Christ is going to be the one worthy to unseal the true hidden meanings behind the scriptures and bring us the actual truth that we're all waiting for, because as Revelations 12:9 will tell us, the devil deceived the whole world. And so Christ has come back now in the last days to reveal the actual true meaning and who the Most High God is, his true commandments, laws, and statutes that we're supposed to keep. And so basically what I'm saying is I'm bringing a message to all of you all and everyone on your panel, is that that Christ is in the flesh and blood now on the earth, and that he is the one worthy to unseal the scrolls. So to get your interpretations from him is the correct way, not to lean to your own vain imaginations, and to never have any private interpretations, and to let every man be a liar and let God be true. And that Christ is the image of God, and he's here. His name is Yhwh.
Okay, so God, who's God to you? Yahweh?
No,
God God
Judah.
the Father is the Spirit.
This is one of Judah's people. He thinks that Judah is Christ. The guy that does lives here on
Yeah,
here
I'm a,
on
I'm a
TikTok.
An
witness.
actual person?
Yeah, I'm a
Oh,
witness.
Yeah.
okay. So you keep Torah, or I'm not aware of this person. Sorry.
I keep God's Sabbath every day. I'm at rest because I have been shown and revealed the truth,
Uh-huh.
and so I keep the Sabbath.
What happened to him coming back like lightning and every eye seeing him and all that stuff?
Yeah, all eyes will see him, even those who pierced him.
I just don't believe he's here yet, and I don't believe the Christ one is the right one, because Jesus said that no man should ever call him the Christ. And he rebuked those that did. And he warned that was the major deception in Matthew
Yeah, can we read Matthew
24:5. And he
24:5?
denied that he was the Christ. He denied that he was the Christ 6 times to Pontius Pilate. So do you think he really wants to be called Christ when he did all that?
Can we get Matthew 24:5? Because
Sure. We can look at it.
yeah, just the name that most of the world, or pretty much majority of the world, the name that they have already come in is Jesus' name. And they've came in his name claiming that, he is the Christ. And so all we're saying is, when the Son of Man returned in the last days, he was going to have a man that no man knew. So Jesus is a name that many men have already known. So that's actually when he's saying, many will come in my name, saying I am the Christ. He's saying
The word "in" there in the Greek is epi. It means to superimpose, put on top of.
Mr. Child of Abba, if I was to tell you, many are going to come in my name saying that.
Yeah, that's why I was just telling you what the word "in" means.
No, many will come in my name.
In my name, yeah. Epi, superimpose on top of, put on top of my name. That's literally what it means.
Just listen to me real quick. If I tell you many's going to come in my name saying I'm the world's fastest runner, right? That means they're going to come and they're going to say, Parker is the world's fastest runner. So when he's saying many's going to come in my name, saying that I am the Christ, so that means many's going to say,
You're calling him the Christ.
Yeah. So that's what that's saying. We're not saying that Jesus is the Christ. We're saying Yhwh is the anointed Son of Man, whom God has chosen to dwell his spirit in.
The Son of Man and the Son of the Father are two different things.
The Son of Man is Yahweh.
Son of Man.
It's not our Father.
Son of Man means that it means that you're human, like you were born from man and woman. Right?
Jesus was not born. Jesus was sent from above. He was not born of a woman.
Yeah, he was not born of a virgin. He tells us almost 40 times that he was sent from the Father.
He was not born. Jesus the Christ was born.
Jesus the
Christ was born of Mary and Joseph. Jesus the Christ is Yahweh's son.
I understand what you're trying to say. I have a difference in opinion. May I please state that?
Yeah, we know you do.
So what I'm.
But when you look at that verse, Parker, in the Greek, it says many will come, and it says in my name. The word for in in
I have a
Greek is
quick question.
epi,
Does anybody on
and it
this
literally.
panel actually speak Greek, or do we all speak English?
I
So
read
can you
Greek,
speak Greek
yes.
fluently?
So I can read the manuscripts. I
Can
can
you
read the
have a
Koine
dialect
Greek.
fluent in Greek?
I mean, no,
I
no one
don't talk
speaks
it
ancient
dialect.
Greek,
No,
but
I can
Okay,
read
I
it,
was
but I don't.
just wondering,
I don't speak it because there's
just,
nobody to speak it
just
with here.
wondering, you know. Um,
Yeah, but
yeah,
can
well,
I finish my
all
thought
right,
here?
all right.
Just a second. Okay, it says many will come in my name. The word for in the Greek is epi. You know how when you were in high school, did they teach you about your skin and that your outer layer of your skin is called an epidermis? Okay. Um, Epi
Yeah,
means to lay upon or to superimpose on top of something. So they really didn't. If they were going to use in Greek, they should have used a word that looks like an EV, not epi. Epi means that they were going to superimpose his name with the word Christ and deceive many. That's why he was rebuking people for calling him Christ. That's why he was commanding that no man should ever call him the Christ, and that he denied it to Pontius Pilate 6 times. It's like he did not want to be called the Christ because he knew calling him the Christ would make him Yahweh's son, and he was not Yahweh's son.
okay, okay, yeah, okay. So, yeah. 100%, because we understand that through doctrine of discovery, the lie has been spread throughout the world, that this Jesus character was actually the Christ, and that these things had already taken place, blindfolding us to the reality that we're actually living them out right now. With the things that's going on in the world, you see rumors of war, you see pestilences. And we could say, yeah, these things have been taking place for the past, 50, 60, 70, 100 years or longer.
you have a
But
large group of Christians now that think that all this happened in 70 AD with the Christ. It's already, saying
that's my
this
standpoint.
generation.
Is the Bible is actually the will of God, and it's being fulfilled right now.
The Bible is Yahweh's. It is not our
Yeah,
Father's.
yeah.
Well, Bible is just a collection of books. That's why I said when it came
A
to
collection of books written by Yahweh. It's not our Father's
Okay,
word.
since we want to go back to the Greek, biblios, library. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
He's getting us off track. He's distracting us.
I know.
It's going to be real
Yeah.
hard to convince this one.
The Bible.
Yeah, Parker.
I'm just asking questions.
I know.
If you have do you have access to YouTube?
Most definitely.
Yeah, if you'll go to my profile, you'll see a link to my YouTube channel. Watch my video on Matthew 24, and I break down every word of the Greek
So when you break
and
it
go
down,
through it
though,
word by
on there,
word.
like let's say I go and I watch, when you break it down, you're giving me, is that your interpretation, or did someone show you that?
No, this is just direct
No, that's it.
translation.
Yeah, but
It's
I'm
direct
saying, whose
translation,
intellect
and
is it coming from? Whose wonderful mind broke that down? Was it you or?
mine
Yeah,
that the Father in
Okay,
heaven
cool.
gave me.
Yeah, that's all. That's what I didn't know if you was giving me somebody else's
Yeah,
information or.
yeah,
See that? Yeah, I see what you're saying. So
yeah.
you broke it down.
Because there's a
You
lot of
interpreted
things.
it.
There's a lot of things that are messed up in there, like you know that
There
verse
is
on
no
the
private
sword
interpretation.
where
Only
it says he.
Christ can unseal the book. That's why I was showing you that.
Who told you that? Well, it was Peter,
Well, the book is
and
sealed
Peter
in
was the
Daniel
one that
12
did
and
what?
4 and in Isaiah 29 and 11. And it's sealed for one man to unseal. And he was going to go out and gather his very elect. And they was going to be the one to hear his message and spread it throughout the earth. Right now, you sitting in his seat claiming that you're anointed and can unseal the actual true meanings
Nah, ain't
of what the
nobody saying
scripture
no
says.
anointed nothing here.
If it's Yahweh's, why are y'all presenting it to break it down? And y'all say Yahweh is Satan.
because the whole world's worshiping the wrong one.
We're supposed to worship God in spirit and
It's like,
truth. That's the
We're
only
presenting
way.
all of this to show people that,
And
like
that
yourself,
through
everybody
his
is
son Christ,
deceived.
through his son Christ, what the word that he speaks is spirit and life. So to worship God in spirit and truth, you would have to go directly to and through his son, as 2 Timothy 2:5 tells us. He is the one mediator.
But
There you
Parker,
go, Bella. You
Christ
should
is
be
not
able to
his
talk.
son.
he's
Christ is not the Father's son. Christ is
the
Yahweh's
anointed
son.
one. Christ is the anointed one that Hebrews 5.
No, he's not.
Anoint. Do you know what anointed
Every high
means?
priest,
he was never anointed as a king of Israel.
every high priest, yeah, because he's anointed now. It never happened. It's a foretold story.
To be anointed as the king of Israel, you would have to be anointed by the elders and the high priest,
No one
and that never
anoints
happened.
except for the Most High. The Most High anoints. That's why no man know the Son except the Father, and no man know the Father except the Son, and to whom the Son revealed him. So you're claiming you know God. Y'all are claiming y'all know God, but y'all can't show
I know
me
the Father
Son.
in heaven.
So you're praying and prophesying with your head covered up. It's Christ is the head. God's
You want
order
me
is
to prove it?
Melchizedek order. God, Christ, man, woman, and child.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. I'm sorry, Parker, but I'm not going to sit here and argue with you when I've studied for 10 years and looked at this stuff from every direction. And I know who the Father in heaven is, and I know who the real Jesus
I'm
was.
trying to. Bella was saying she was having mic issues. I was trying to.
Peace and
I was
blessings
trying
to you too,
unmute.
brother. Maybe if you can listen, that'd be great.
Can you talk now, Bella? I unmuted the thing. I see it just mutes it back. What the heck?
Can you guys
I
hear
don't
me?
Uh-huh.
know.
Yes.
Now we can,
Yes.
Yeah.
Turn my mic off.
but you sound like you're really far away.
Yeah, you sound
We
like you're
can't
far
hear you.
away.
We can't hear you well.
I have my volume all the way up. I don't understand what's going on.
That's weird.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
just pull it
odd.
down.
My mic was off. I wasn't even allowed to talk. I was talking that whole time asking you questions and nobody could hear.
So I had the same problem when I came in. Yes, there was
Oh,
something
really?
wrong with my mic. I noticed it was unusual and asking me that it said you need to turn your microphone on. I'm like, huh?
Might need an update. May need an update. Sometimes it
TikTok is
glitches when they're
glitching,
doing a.
Canton said. Yeah, and I've had that issue too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
probably need an
Or just
update on it.
restart the app and see if it works and bring you back up or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm sorry.
Since y'all are working okay, I'd just stay now that you're working all right,
well,
though.
yeah.
Oh, I was having a hard time hearing Bella. She sounded like she was really, really far away.
Right.
Hopefully
If
she'll come
anyone
back
want to
on.
come up and talk, they can. I'll invite this person. I've never seen them before. I'd like to hear more on the things you've learned on this journey. If you want to come up and ask questions, Nick, I just invited you up so you can talk. And he's got the one eye. I'm about to put my dog up. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Nick?
Is anybody else who got questions would like to come up?
Nick,
Nick
do you
is my
want to come
son.
up?
Nick's my son.
Oh, it's Nick.
That's my Nick.
Okay.
Come on up, Nick. Not
All
tonight.
right.
Maybe another time. Okay. All right.
Okay, he
Okay.
didn't want
Great,
to.
though.
Okay.
You've shared that with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
he's here. That's awesome. Yeah, I've listened to Jaji Judah before, and I didn't agree. You know, of course, he's claiming to be the Christ one.
So we know
So-
that's not the good one.
Yep.
Mindy.
This is really hard for people, though. You know how it was hard for us when we first learned about it. So
It's hard to admit that you've been deceived for, like we've talked about. I mean, I didn't wake up
yes, it
until I was
is.
58 years old. I mean, I didn't learn this truth till I was 58.
I was in my 60s. It's like they're going, wow.
I mean, he's done a good job.
And
I mean, his goal was to deceive the whole world, and he's done that.
he accomplished it. He sure did. Because it doesn't matter what you show or how many times you show the bad stuff. It's like people still don't believe it. Or they make an excuse for it. Or those people were evil, or they were genetically flawed, or they were giants,
It's
or they were
God's
something,
righteous anger. It's,
It's okay to be jealous and wrathful and
I don't
Yeah,
think
I used to
angry
say those
and
things too. Oh, go ahead, Sally.
I don't think they can get around the fact that our God is not dualistic in nature. Like Yahweh is dualistic, good and bad, where there is no bad in our Father. And I don't think people can wrap their mind around it.
yeah, that's the hard part. But I mean, he came and he said he wished that no
Yeah.
man would perish, and people chose the darkness. And Yahweh says over and over, he's wrapped in thick darkness. He comes down with blowing hot coals and smoke and burning people up and unaliving people and destroying cities and taking all their goods and moving from one nation to another with total destruction.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Now it's like I'm reading a horror story, though, when I go back and read that stuff. It's very unnerving. And it really is happening, too. That's the sad part. It's the whole reason we have all the wars.
I mean, Yahweh wants all the killing. He wants us.
His worshipers doing his bidding.
He wants us destroying each other.
Anybody else got any questions? We'll be glad to call you up
The
and you
guy
can.
that he's talking about is a literal person that's alive right now.
Yeah, he's doing, and he does TikTok lives in the mornings a lot of times.
Oh, okay.
You'll see
He's
him
got a
on,
big following, or
and you can go watch him. And I'm blocked by him now, I think, because I said something to him and he didn't like what I said. I just quoted a Bible verse, and he blocked me. I don't know if the guy's still in here or not, but it's like when they're trusting that the word is not up for any private interpretation. That was Peter that said that. And Peter's the same one that denied Jesus 3 times with oaths and curses. And Jesus said, he said, if any man deny me before man, I will deny him before the Father. So I don't think that he gave the ropes to Peter. And all you have to do is look at the Catholic Church, and that's a prime example that they set him up as
oh yeah.
there's actually nothing in there about Jesus. It's all about Peter. Yes, and they're creating so-called chosen ones have created a complete worldwide racial divide that is so humongous that I don't know how we'll ever dig out of it. It's like each one wants to be the chosen ones, and each one wants to be the one to conquer the whole world, and they're just going to sit back and laugh and watch them all unalive each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think without Father's help we would ever know that. We'd just be in the middle of it going, why is this happening? anybody listening, it's like if you extract Jesus's words, and if something doesn't sound right, and it doesn't hit you right, it's like that verse I was telling him about the sword. It says that he didn't come to he came to bring the sword and cast out peace. It doesn't say that at all. In the actual Greek, it says he didn't come to cast out peace, but to cast out the sword. And you can check me on the Greek on that. It's real easy to see it when you go look at the interlineary. But if you come across a verse like that and it doesn't set you right, it's like morally you think, what is this? Go check the Greek, because a lot of times it's wrong. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is, and it was intentional. It's like they were setting everything up for what they wanted to do. But he came to bring peace, not get rid of
Right.
peace.
Right.
But they needed their holy wars, I guess. So they had to change the
Yeah, because
text.
that would have been a big one. And they changed it around that time, so it makes sense.
And the holy
Yeah.
wars are still going. Most of it's all about religion.
All wars are about religion, aren't they? If you think about it,
Just
that's
about.
really what it boils down to.
hmm And Yahweh says he's the one that sets up the kings over the nations. So
Yeah,
it's
that would
like
make sense.
he's doing it.
Well, let's see. I tried to invite Bella up, and then I'm seeing if there's anybody new in here tonight that maybe wanted to talk. I could invite Phantom up again, maybe. Let's see.
Yeah, it'd be good to talk to some of the other people too.
I mean,
I wonder if Vita made it tonight.
Oh yeah, she was.
I really enjoyed
Yeah, she
listening
was
to
so
Vita.
sweet.
She has a heart for Father, man, really big time. I really enjoyed
Yeah, she
listening to
could
her last
explain
night.
everything so simply, and that's how you knew she understood it.
And it was so sincere, you
Absolutely.
could tell. It's like
Yeah, she was very pleasant to have.
very. But like I said, we'd be glad to talk with anybody that still thinks that Yahweh is the Father in the Old Testament. Because there's so many examples we can give that counteract that. Yeah, I did too. And she said that Jen said she teared up. I teared up too. When I was listening to her, I thought, what a beautiful testimony. That's one of Father's little ones,
Yeah,
that's
no
for
doubt.
sure.
It's already hard enough to try to talk to people about Yahweh, but then you go further to the Jesus subject and you're just losing people. It's like if they haven't even studied or even thought about it a little bit, you're telling them totally new information, and it's like to expect them to process that if they don't even know the Yahweh thing. It's like, man, it's going to be real difficult.
I think sometimes, though, people kind of know. It's like when I was younger, I would read it and I would think, because my dad was such a violent dad, and he drank all the time and everything, and I thought to myself, it's like, please don't tell me God's the same way. It's like, I didn't think I could take it, And it's like, but it's like when you read through, if you read the Old Testament, then you start seeing, and then you read Jesus' words and you keep going back and forth comparing. It's like, No, that's not Father. That can't be.
And I was
You
like
know.
that when I first learned this truth. I was like reading the Bible again, right before I learned this. And I remember before I even knew, like, I started in the Old Testament and I'm reading forward, and I couldn't make sense of any of it. It never ever sat well with me, and just growing up in the church and going to church, and I would go and I would always be so uncomfortable when I was there, and I could never put my finger on it. And I guess I believed what the
Same
pastors
for
are
me.
telling me, that we're sinners and we're not worthy to even be here. And I mean, that's the whole mission of the church and religion, is to make
Oh
you
yeah,
feel that way.
that brainwashing works really
Yeah,
well.
it does.
And the fear of
Yeah,
going in the
yeah.
furnace. You know, when that's thrown at you, then you lose all common sense. It's like, especially as a child, that's
Yeah, that's
almost
what
abuse to
when I
me.
remember being
When
in
you
the
think
church with
about
the
it.
fire and brimstone thing, and I'm like, oh, and I'm crying and going up there like, I don't want this to happen to me. I got to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Now I'm eating the body and drinking the blood and being washed in the blood and da da da. It's like, here we go.
Well, my parents didn't go, but my grandfather took me, and then when I was with mom and dad, I would ask them to take me. I went to church even before I was old enough to cross the street by myself. Mom would have to walk me across. And I listened to all that, and it puts a fear in you. It's like you have to really work around that after a while. It's like, because to a little child here, that if you sin, you're going to be burning for an eternity.
But that's
You know,
that's what adults
you
think
go.
now. Look at Facebook. Look at the number of people that I
Mm-hmm.
know. A lot of us have mutual people that we follow on there, and look at all the Pharisees on there. If you do this, you're going to hell. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. If you get a divorce, you're going to hell. If you get remarried, you're going to hell. Like all of them. Everybody seems to be stuck on a tangent of that, and there's so much prosecution and judgment, and that's what we're up against, in trying to teach this. And there were a few truthers that I tried to give this information to, and wow, they told me I had one of them said I had committed blasphemy. The other one sent me a 6-minute video or audio just telling me how wrong I was, and then they all blocked me. Like they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to
Stick, you're
do.
welcome to come up and tell us how much we need to know about theology. I'm in the mood tonight.
I hate it because I hate to see people, you know, just bashing
I
each
do
other
too,
constantly.
And then, kind of piggybacking on what we were talking about last night about, the vaccine and people who have taken it. And, there's so many people that are telling others that, they're damned from taking that. And, it's really sad to see how divided, and to see the truthers and stuff, and people who, profess to love the Father treating one another like that on the social media platforms. It's very hard for me sometimes.
And they can't see the whole mass manipulation
Mm-mm.
of everything. It is a worldwide manipulation. It has become like, I never thought I'd see this in all my
Mm-mm.
days, or realize it, because I didn't even realize it was happening for many, many years. But it's like now you can see it
Yeah.
so crystal clear. And I keep thinking one day the world's going to boil over. They're going to realize what's done it and who did it to them. And they're going to just like go gangbusters loose. It'll probably be when nobody has food or stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've got somebody coming up.
Hello.
Good.
Hey, how's it
Hey,
going?
Jen.
Hi. Sorry, I've been listening the last few days, but I'm, it's like y'all go on at dinner time, and I have 2 kids.
Oh,
No, that's
no,
okay.
I'm sorry.
I also get dropped a lot. I don't know what that is about, but
Sometimes
But
if I
I-
back out, or it's dropped me several times. Last night I got dropped 2 or 3 different times just for minimizing the app. This app is a little glitchy.
the weird thing is I thought it was me, but I was listening to the replay of the live on YouTube this morning, and it was still playing, so it wasn't me. I mean, it wasn't the actual live itself. I wasn't. It was probably me going off because it was still playing, but it was silent. So I think it was just something altogether.
The one I uploaded this morning? That's wild. Nobody else has said anything about it being,
There's
no
like
sound.
just small parts here and there where
There's
there's
spots.
there's little spots where there's no audio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I may have to watch that then.
But I think like the last guy, Parker, and a lot of the people that have been coming in, I see what they're saying. I see why they're saying that, because I got on this whole thing like I had all these answers, and they went. So that something is like not right there, and it's one or the other. They either like hop on Yahweh or they hop on Yhwh. They can't separate them, and they can't see. For me, I appreciate the like translations and everything, so I want to say that because I saw something wasn't right. I'm like, I'm not seeing the same thing. You can't say to love everyone and then say I'm gonna come back with a sword and pour out boils on people from bowls and all
Yeah,
this stuff.
all
That's
the
just like
bowls.
that makes this like makes no sense to me. And then go back to like the and so I've been kicked off of so many bigger YouTube channels and some of the really small ones that have started to gain traction because they hook you with stuff like Yeshua's Metatron and the holidays are pagan and why, and they give you the whole the deities and everything and how they're very similar to, but then they won't take the Bible at face value. They overcomplicate the Bible to make it make sense. Like, oh no, this was like if you wanted to discipline your child. And it's like, that's not how I discipline my child.
So funny you say that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think like
If he rebels and he doesn't listen to you, just take him out the fence and end it in.
That's what Yahweh wants.
It's like.
But that's my biggest thing, I think, because they say to follow the 10 Commandments. Even my mom says that. She's told me my whole life because I told her, church scared me, and she didn't go with me. A bus picked us up, which is
Wow.
so weird. Like when I was little, like a white bus, it came through the neighborhood and picked up all the kids. No parents went with them. I remember I was like 7 or 8, and my brother was a baby, like literally in diapers, no car seat or anything. So way back in the 80s, and I'm just like on a bus holding a baby. I thought it was insane, and it was terrifying. Like I was in the room with the babies, and what they were saying terrified me. But my mom was like, just follow the 10 Commandments and you'll be fine, because that's what her dad always told her. And I have like a big problem with that, because Jesus says, you've heard this, but I say. So
It's complete opposite.
And it did say that if you try to follow one law, you're cursed because you can't follow all the laws. So, and I say that to, every time somebody starts spitting that stuff out, well, I'm not covering my head. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be subservient to my husband. What if he was abusive? They're like, oh, well, then you get divorced, but then you can never remarry. You have to be put on a shelf because whoever said in the Bible, then you get put on a shelf. I was like, that's asinine. Why would that happen?
Sense either.
No, but they have all of these little verses and it's always from the Old Testament. Nobody ever pulls, aside from like, I think it's John where the Bible is for reproof and whatever. I hate this one channel because it's the opening to every one of their videos. And I'm like, ugh, as you twist everything.
Yeah, they do.
But everybody eats it up because that's the thing. Nobody has discernment. There's a
People
tiny bit
worship.
of truth in there. They
They
hook
just
you
want
with
to
truth, and you
follow
know
and
there's some truth. So then you
right.
blindly follow everything
Yeah,
else
then you
because they gave you some good stuff. They gave you some
then they
meat,
sandwich
but
all
you
them
can't
lies in
decipher the
between.
bad.
People are
Yeah.
worshiping the book instead of worshiping the Father.
You know, I saw
Absolutely.
a pastor that said that the Bible was the mark of the beast. I mean, I
I've
don't
heard
think it
that.
is, but I could see why they would say that because so many people now are like, oh, and especially King James, which I hate. I really hate that Bible.
Yeah, I do
I don't
too.
get it why so many people are obsessed with it.
I can't believe people say that that is the inerrant word of God. I mean, how much information you have to throw out to say that and have that standpoint. It's like, yeah, I can't listen to anything else after that if that's your stance. It's like, how? There's so
Yeah.
many texts before that. Like, and then they
Right.
just, and you ask them, well, what about this? What about that? Oh, those are all just lies. Those are all just BS.
Yeah, and William Tyndale was hung for writing his translation of the Bible. And when people came to America, they came with the Geneva Bible, not even the King James. They forget why
Yeah,
we
that was before
left
it.
England anyway. We left to escape the oppression, but
Yeah.
they've manipulated that too. Like there wasn't a king that was trying to get married and didn't have people, change things on his behalf.
Yeah, I read where they took out a whole section of one part of it because it was talking about how evil the kings and princes of the world were. And they took that out, King James did, because he couldn't have that in there, you know.
Yeah, I think it's crazy.
And this same king that also had him a book made on Solomon's
But I think
demons.
actually, I heard this in a video. I didn't like look it up to verify, but that the Crown owns the rights to the King James Bible, and every time they reprint it, they have to modify it by like 10 or 15% in order to make a new copy.
I mean,
Yeah, I think, Shannon, that God breathed was a Greek. It came from the statues that they were God breathed and come alive or something like that. I found that one time and I was like, and Paul quotes a lot of Plato. There's a whole bunch of Plato
yeah.
in his writings. The kick against the goats was in some kind of play prior to the New Testament, too.
I mean, even just the changes just from the Geneva Bible, King James is in the tens of thousands. And then it's like, okay, so from the Geneva to whatever comes before that, how many changes were there? Then how many changes were before that? It's just for them to throw all that out. It makes my mind numb because I'm like, oh my goodness, the KJV onlyists are very hard to talk to.
Yeah, and I think there's two
I spent-
diehards of them. They're either the Mandela effect where everything is changing, which I couldn't say because I never actually read the Bible until recent years. I only went to church and somebody read it to me. Or they're the ones that very clearly twisting, because if you take what Jesus said and Jesus is the word and that's it, honestly, that's it. There shouldn't be anything else. But
Yeah,
they
but you go into
love to
any
go back to the
church,
Old Testament.
Oh, I know. They don't. You'll be lucky you have a church these days, quote Jesus. It's like they're all in Paul's letters or they're in the Old Testament and then that's their sermon, and it's like, where's Jesus in all of this? And then they'll throw one little thing in there from Jesus or something and say, oh, see, here we go, it's all aligning.
Yeah, John 3:16 is the only thing I could find in the back of the church. It wasn't Paul.
There are a lot of people that are trying to throw out. Well, that's how I got sucked into the Yahweh thing, was this guy who wrote all these books and he has them for free. I mean, you can buy them, but he has them for free so you can read them online. And he says like that Paul was, crap, and the Paul's, letters shouldn't even be in there. So it sucked me in. And then he's like saying that Jesus wasn't a person, that he was made up too. And then he referenced this book, which should be a red flag to anybody, but I bought the book. that the I'd have to go look on the shelf. But does Jesus imitate Homer? Actually, I should look instead of just saying that.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Does the
Yeah.
New Testament imitate Homer?
I-
And so they were trying to compare
Right.
Jesus to Homer's Odyssey.
They've tried to compare him to Dionysus. Then there was some New Age guy that wrote a book that Jesus was a remake of Horace, and it was totally distorted. I said they must have never read an archaeology book about Horace at all.
I have a bunch of books on.
I studied world religion for 14 years, and then I've studied the Bible now for 10. And it's real interesting because they do try to like fit him into pigeonholes that he doesn't really fit.
I think I skirted around the Bible because I found it so terrifying as a kid going to church. And I have this huge collection of books on Egypt and Samaria, all of these other religions and deities and, Mayans and even people that have, the Genesis 6 conspiracy and
Oh yeah, I
so
read
many
that one
books.
too.
And then I'm like, I read the Bible and I was like, oh God, it was like right in my face. You just had to read it, I guess, instead of letting everybody. It is terrifying. I'm not saying that the Bible isn't terrifying, but it wasn't meant for me because I don't know who that man was.
I found most of it though. It's like I had one group of pagan friends that said that that he was Horus. They went with that, and it didn't take me 2 weeks to disprove that one. I was laughing. I was like, but they're all remakes of Yahweh or that same type of system. All throughout the world. There's always a destroyer, and it's like the conquering and all the same stuff.
My little
over and over
sister
and
is
over.
pagan, and so anytime like I come to a new revelation and I tell her, she's like, I already know that. I'm like, okay, but I mean, maybe she'll come to her truth, being that she's on that path. I don't know.
Sometimes they do.
I hope she
We've had
does.
all types.
I think I had to go through wading through all that stuff
The
in
crazy
order to
thing,
know.
so my brother-in-law his dad was a pastor, and I never met the man. I don't know what happened to him, but his whole life he was a pastor, and somewhere in the end of his life he just went off the rails and unalived himself, and made many attempts before he was successful.
Night, Nick.
So maybe he knew something he wasn't comfortable with.
I know doing those Torah portions though and really starting to tear into the Old Testament is what really did it for me. I would listen every night because there was always some group doing Torah portions every night. You could find on YouTube, So I would do mine with them because it was more interesting than doing it by myself. And I would sit there and listen, and they'd come up with 50 million reasons why Yahweh was justified in doing the evil that he does. And I'm like, the more it went on, the sicker I got. I was like, I felt like I was purely under some dark cloud, just like walking around through sludge with it,
I tried to rationalize that stuff and I just can't. I mean, I've been spanked twice in my whole life. And, and then it's a big old joke because I think my husband had a more disciplined family than I did. But I feel like that was enough for me. Like I didn't need another one. And I'm not saying I got beat, but I got just the look in my dad's eyes because he had to do it. And then the later, I'm so sorry. Like he made me cry. Like, I'm so sorry. And he took me to the drugstore to buy me a baby doll. It was like, he felt terrible. So I can't justify that. And then they talk about your firstborn is a sacrifice. I mean, to this day, I think it says that. And I just, no, that's not why I had kids.
Look, this is the first hand. I couldn't buy it right now, so I decided to make it.
Okay, great job.
You like it?
I love it.
Oh, and also I used the same technique for the actual fingers, but I just changed up with using these little pieces right here instead of using.
Okay, well, don't make a mess. It's almost bedtime, okay? So I don't want to step on Legos when I go be creepy.
It's like my dog. I have to get all my dog toys up so I don't trip at night.
I went into his room to check on him.
Oh, also, by the way, this thing full of minifigures.
Okay, great job, Nugget. I went in his room to check on him and he wasn't asleep all the way. And, I go in and like tuck him in and take all the, the remote or Legos. He's weird. He sleeps with hard toys in his bed. And take all the stuff out. And I gave him a kiss and he was like, Mom, I'm sleeping. Why are you being so creepy? I was like, okay, I'll come back when you're asleep all the way.
Okay.
And then I'll be creepy.
One of the sad things, though, is that a lot of people are getting into these new lives, like the reconstructing Christianities and the Satanist things and the atheist lives, and they can really rip everything apart really well. But they also try to throw out Jesus with everything else, and that's the sad
I
part.
have a problem with that title. I mean, it's just I'm not a Christian. I've never claimed that. I don't like the title. And I feel like anybody can regurgitate something. So you memorize some scriptures. It's the same people that memorize a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Right, and that's what they teach you to do in school.
It doesn't really mean anything to me that you and I'm not saying that I apply it in life, because I get aggravated and I'm like, why am I so irritated? Why am I letting this person nag me? But you should try very hard to apply it in your life. And if you're not, then why are you bothering to memorize it? And I have like a huge problem with the gematria people too, that like come out and decode and say all this, and they're like, oh, well, Father came to me in the darkness. Yeah, and he went to Moses in the darkness too. Like, you're not supposed to be in the darkness. We're supposed to be in the light. I don't want to hear about your dark stuff.
Me neither.
I don't know who's coming to you there. But I don't think good things lurk in the dark.
Yeah, I agree. I was really hoping somebody was gonna try to. I want somebody that's actually at least somewhat into the knowledge to come up and say something sometimes, but it doesn't seem to happen really anymore. When we first started the live, it was all types of people coming in, and
I can tell that it's gonna be that they're gonna be combative or on the opposing side as soon as they ask to start. Can you read this scripture and tell me what it means to you?
yeah.
Well, just humor me. What about this? Well, hear me out. I mean, even the last guy, he didn't realize he was agreeing, but he was agreeing because he said, if I came in my name, if somebody came in my name saying Parker is the best runner, well, he just said his name and the best runner. That was the thing. The whole point was saying Jesus, the Christ, not a Christ or an antichrist. It was Jesus, the Christ. But he didn't even realize he was agreeing.
I know.
That kind of shocked me when I found that, though, when I was reading Matthew 24, and I just sat there and it just sunk in my head what that really meant. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I started this mad dash search for everything about it, and the more I read, the more verses I was like, oh, it is real.
Yeah, that's the one problem I've had. Like, a lot of people agree. I know Bobby Collier does Good God, and he talks about that a lot, the Yahweh and everything. I think a lot of people have started to see that, but the Jesus one, which has kind of always bugged me, because people pray to Jesus and they're like, well, why isn't my prayer answered? Or, why am I being smited by Jesus? And it's like, but what Jesus? I feel like maybe you're not on the right, maybe you're not in the right, knocking on the right door. I don't know what to say.
Well, and I could say from personal experience, it's, I since I've come into this knowledge, um, my spiritual guidance and path in life and things has changed dramatically. Like humongous changes have been happening in my life. Um, I've never had any experiences like some people will talk about. I haven't had anything too wild happen, but my guidance and how I go through life now has changed a lot. And the people that come into my life and how I approach those situations has changed so much. So I know that there's something very, very different about the past couple of years. And the more and more I understand and how to treat people and treat situations, it's been a blessing, really. It's helped me even just becoming a better person who Father wants me to be. I wasn't always great. I'm still not great, but
Oh no, I'm definitely known for having a fiery temper.
yeah, that's my thing. I do have a temper a little bit, but it's been so
I
much
mean, much,
better in the past year or two. I haven't
it
lost my
was much
temper
worse
on
when I was
anybody in a
younger.
long
I
time.
think I honed it in as I got older, but
How old are
yeah,
you?
nobody can, in my 40s.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, I was like, I just said whatever came to my mind when I was younger. I was very hot-headed, and if somebody disagreed with me, or if I not even disagreed, I wouldn't say that, but if I knew I was right, I wouldn't let it go. And so you get in school, you get in trouble a lot, and it's like, no, that's, I don't know, but I was that one that all the principals knew. My parents were there a lot. And I've tried not to be that. I think I mellowed out way before I had kids, because my kids are very young.
That's great.
I don't know, I guess I wasn't ready. Like I needed to get all of that out of my system. I want to answer like my son. He's only 10. He doesn't believe in God. And then my daughter, she talks to Jesus, and she dreams about Jesus, and she talks to the Father, and she prays for everybody. And she's only 8, so she's like young and sweet, and they're so opposite. But my son spends a lot of time with his grandparent, who does not share the beliefs of the rest of the house, and he soaks that up.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it's hard because she's older, and then he actually told me, well, she's lived longer than you, she's older, so she's wiser than you are, she knows more. I'm like, that's not always true, but it's probably the same thing I would have said when I was his age.
Were you born in 77?
79.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
I forget how old I am, actually. My husband likes to bring that up every birthday because he's younger than I am.
Oh, okay.
And by 7 years, I think, 7.5 years. So it was like a big joke. When I was in my 30s, he had every cake turned into 29. He's like, but I don't know how to make the 40s different. He'd add a little line to 36, and he'd ask them to make them look like 2s or whatever to try to. But he's like, I don't know what to do now that you're in your 40s, and I haven't gotten a cake either. Like he doesn't want to depress me.
And how,
Yes, we're open. Let anybody come up and discuss anything they would like to.
Jen, can I ask you, how's he feel about some of these truths that you've brought into your life?
He's only just started. He didn't grow up religious. Well, I mean, he had his grandparents were religious, Catholic, and they went to church. But I think his great aunt was a school teacher, maybe in a church her whole life. But he was never exposed to church, or his parents didn't do that. They've only started doing it now that they're older. So he didn't have any view.
It's probably a good thing then, huh?
Well, I will say when I met him, he wore St. Michael around his neck. One of his relatives gave it to him when he was in the military for protection. And I was like, I don't like that. And he does have, I think, an angel he keeps in his vehicle. But I think as long as he's holding on to that, then maybe he's not all the way there. But he sees it.
Right.
He asks questions. We have regular discussions about it. He'll ask me questions or what do I think? But I don't think he's all the way there. He's told me that he's on the same page but not on the same line.
Right.
That's good. That's good. At least he's making progress
Yeah,
toward
And
it, you know.
he's
closer.
watched a lot of he listens to, oh man, I wish I could remember his name. He's an older guy and he goes to schools and quizzes people on the Bible. It's like Clive something, I think. He really likes him, but I don't agree with everything he says. And he's watched a lot of the religious movies lately. Like he binged The Chosen, and he watched
Yeah, that's pretty much just propaganda.
the old Mel Gibson. And I told him that, and I was like, do you get that, right? That's kind of contradictory. I mean, Jesus wasn't a rabbi. He didn't come here to save only some people. How can you love everybody and save some people? And he's like, well, I don't need the Jennifer answer. I just want to get the gist. I can figure that out on my own. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to push it, but I watch it and it bugs me.
Oh, it bugged me big time. I mean, like, there's nothing in the scriptures that Jesus went in the woods and taught the kids the Shema from the Old Testament, you know, and was carved in wood little figurines and living in a tent, and you know, it's like they played it up to the nth
worst
degree.
is like we caught it at this last new season that they were releasing one at a time live. So like right before that was about to air, we watched the other ones. And then you catch the part of the commentary at the end and it's like, oh, they're telling
How long have
you.
you guys been together?
13 years.
Okay. Well, he's
A long
older
time.
now then. And yeah, it's a long time. Yeah, I hope that it works out for you. I hope that he starts to see it more. It's great that you see it. I couldn't imagine being the guy and my wife or who I'm with is trying to tell me these things. I guess that would be kind of hard. Sometimes I guess it's hard as a guy to.
Luckily, he's not like that. He's
Oh, that's good.
I wouldn't say he's not an abrasive guy. He was in the military, and they kind of just train that into you, even if that's not your personality. But
Right.
no, he's very like, you're my equal, respects. But I think we just maybe even before I started looking into all this, and I didn't start that until I had kids, or actually the kids were older, a little bit older, like where I had to start teaching them. And I had like a big problem with school and I didn't want to do that. And then I started reading these books about that and then it just led down the other path. But I can't even know where I was going that. But okay, we had like similar interests. I don't think I was like other girls. I mean, I was raised by my dad. So it was like, you need to know how to change your oil and fix a tire. Never be dependent on somebody. Don't let anybody owe you anything. You should, always know how to do things for yourself. I think I just grew up at a different time. So maybe I'm not like that ditzy, like, haha, take care of me girl. So I have more respect, I guess. I'm seen more as an equal. I don't know.
Right. I grew up like that too. I was on a farm and we were working and, always doing stuff like changing tires ourselves and stuff like that, even as a girl. So I was very independent.
Yeah, I don't think kids are raised that way anymore, sadly.
My dad whooped
I
the
know.
fire out of me.
Yeah, he sure did.
That's him, Jen, on the panel. That's Vic.
Aw.
It's his dad.
Yes.
He's
That's
joking
funny.
around with him.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
I have
everybody
a
will
lot
say-
of remorse over that over the years. And what child doesn't realize that it was his mother in the background screaming he needs a whipping?
No, my mom
For
whooped
me
me way more. My
personally-
mom whooped me way more.
Oh, you know
For me
what? I actually am the
personally,
one that
I-
disciplines more too. And when I finally like just have had enough, and I tell my husband, you need to spank him. Like my son had to get a spanking the other day because his room was a mess, and we kept telling him clean, clean, clean.
I was way worse
he tells
than
me
that. I was a horrible
he
child.
told me. Oh no, he talked back to me. The boiling point was like he told me off, like he threw something across the room and he just got. But my husband came home and saw the mess and was like, oh, so you weren't respecting your mom, blah blah blah, and he gave him like 2 little spankings on the butt or whatever. And he told me the next day, he's like, well, maybe I needed to have a reality check. That's what my son tells me. Maybe I needed a reality check. Dad needed to spank me because I wasn't on the right track.
I mean,
like-
in their defense,
I would've never said that
was
as a kid either.
awful. I was pretty awful as a kid. My mom whooped me so hard one time she broke the wooden thing. She liked to whoop me so hard that it was just like over the top.
My brother's got those. Luckily, I didn't. I knew. I didn't like it. I only had to get one. That was enough for me.
I only remember
My
one
brothers
time
didn't
my
care.
dad whooping me. He pulled the reflector switch out the driveway and whooped me with that.
Oh, my brothers
But
had to
I
go
was
pick a
being
switch every
absolutely
time.
awful. I was being awful.
Closest thing I could get my hand on. Well,
I
child,
remember being horrible,
Your brother.
awful that day. He didn't.
let me talk about your brother. I spanked him one time. Was all it took.
Yeah, he never
And
he
I
never
could just look at him, and he would
he'd break.
he was just
My brothers didn't care.
Yeah, and then
Oh no, I'd be laughing while I was
but as
getting
time went on,
That was my brothers. They'd say, "Let's get it over with," and then they would go back to doing whatever they were doing.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
didn't.
that
It was
me.
like,
no, it's the truth. It's the truth. Oh.
that's so funny.
Well, I ask questions about your husband because, I think I'm married and I strongly desire my wife to see this truth, and you can't push it on anybody. You can only lovingly lead somebody to it. Whoa, is she putting up a fight tonight? I got the lecture about the infallible word of God.
Yeah, here we go.
I didn't.
Oh, boy.
And so, but I don't even view it as her saying it. It's like just repeating Yahweh stuff and
Yeah, it's the regurgitation.
It wasn't
all
even
it
me
is,
that did
so-
it for my husband. It was my daughter because she's so sweet and she'll tell him like, "Daddy, don't say a bad word. It's Daddy. I have to be. Daddy, don't be angry." She's just so. And then that she tells, every morning we ask the kids, "Did you have?" Since they were little, so I still say it. "Did you have sweet baby dreams?" So they would talk to me, and she'll be like, "Yeah, I dreamed I was with Jesus, and He gave me bread, and I ate the bread with Father." And she'll just say like the cutest little things, and that's what got him. She's
wow.
the one that kind of reined him in because
That's a
I've been doing
blessing,
it for
then.
a few years, but
yeah.
like that little face and her little her little cuteness, yeah, she got him.
Did he grow?
Now he's
did he
like, I
grow
need to
up
do
with,
better.
Did he grow up pretty good? I mean, did he have a pretty good upbringing with his parents and?
It was weird. He was raised by his grandmother mostly because she was older and retired.
Oh,
Both of his
okay.
parents worked, and then there's 6 years between each of the boys, so they're not really close in
Oh,
age.
yeah, that makes it harder. And for you, like, how did you grow up? I mean, did you grow up real different from him?
Oh no, I grew up with a dad that was home every night and a mom that never worked. I had
Oh, that's so
three
wonderful.
brothers, three brothers, and we're all really close in age. Well, my youngest brother is 7. Down there's way more because they both got remarried, but the youngest one was 7, and so I was really close to my brothers. So there was like built-in friends. We
Right,
terrorized each
right.
other. And you know, my dad played softball. We had motorcycles, we had go-karts, we had bicycles. My dad was a mechanic, so he was always tinkering and doing things, and you know, always around. I think I had a great childhood.
Oh, that's so great to hear.
My
That's
brothers don't
wonderful.
agree though, because they got whooped all the time.
No, well, yeah.
I have a question. I really feel like y'all could help me with this. So my current situation is going to this little Baptist church down here, taking my wife to church and trying to do the right thing, you know, I guess. And it bothers me. The blood and the washing and singing about washing in the blood and worshiping all the blood and eating the blood. No, it just, you know, you guys know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, it jumps out at you when you go back into it. You're like, goodness, I got to get out of here.
So recently there was a big blow up. They had a business meeting, and then there was an old guy stood up and huddy-duddy and cried about the dress code and these shorts and flip flops and stuff, and he didn't know what the minister was going about. And then it was this huge blow up, and the whole church just fell apart over this one little statement. And now it's only like 25 people go to this church, so it's not.
Yeah, it's small,
And
huh?
so this is, and the head deacon just left. Yeah, well, the head deacon and his wife just a month ago stood up in the middle of the service and said they'd had enough. And this is the head deacon, demon, whatever you call him. Well, I think is it wrong for me to use this situation as now? I want out, man. I don't know how much longer I can deal with this and this worshiping. It is. I'm telling you, y'all know this is dark. I love my wife very much, and I told her today. I said, I don't think I
I'd
can
have
go
a
to
hard
that
time
church
too,
anymore.
Vic. I'll be honest.
You're in a hard spot.
I would have a
Yes, I'm
hard
in a
time
pickle.
because I don't even like hearing the Christ word anymore. It's like it drives me
But
nuts.
what happens?
You know.
I mean,
No.
if so, your wife has faith, but like my grandmother was like that, and she went to church and twice a week, sometimes more. And when she passed away, like I don't know, it always bothered me. Did she go to the right place? Was she because she was in the wrong church? How do you reconcile
Well,
that?
you know, since turning to the truth and receiving the truth, I think is where the relationship with Father is. Because Jesus said, I am the truth. And if you receive the truth, you're receiving him. And so I don't know. I mean, this is kind of still sort of new to me, how to deal with the love of my life here, as far as I'm wondering, like you just said about your grandmother there, Jen. What's going to be the end of this? And it goes deeper than you know. I'm 65. We're in our mid 60s now, and she's 4 years younger than me, and so yeah, it's heavy on my heart. That's why I'm asking. You know, I think I can use this blow up at the church as an out.
Well,
Maybe
you know,
you could
I just
ask
say
her
the-
questions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
Maybe you
I'm
could
just
ask
saying.
her questions about things that the two of you don't agree on to get her point of view, and then just dig into it to see if she sees what you see by asking the questions. Like, just go to her like
Yeah.
in like a layman. Explain this to me. Oh, I have this question about this. Can you explain it to me? And dig maybe
This
at
is the
it.
situation here, Jen. So I have a degree. I have a bachelor's degree in pastoral theology. I was actually a Baptist pastor for like probably 6 years until I got divorced, and then I wasn't even worthy to clean the toilets at the church anymore. You all know the deal. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
have been the spiritual leader in the home under the JC system. Well, I'm coming out of that. So for me to ask her questions, it's do you know what? Do you follow me there?
Well, she still has a
it's
strong
not-
enough
it's-
faith to
yeah.
go to the church. So maybe tell her that, you feel like you need help going back on, maybe you're not on the path and you want her to guide you back, and maybe goading her for the answers that are not truths anymore will make her realize when she starts digging into it that, hey, this doesn't add up.
Well,
Yeah, if she's saying that the infallible word thing and the inerrant word thing, you gotta start to say, okay, well, we have the Geneva Bible. What do you think about that? I wish I could talk with her some, because I know her decently well.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I wanted to order one. I wanted to buy one for the simple reason is, as we kind of look, the King James to me is so butchered up.
Oh, yeah.
You have to take a person like Colin on here, like artist here, having to spend tens of thousands of hours breaking this down. That shouldn't be the case. Is it possible maybe if we looked into I'm switching gears here, but maybe the Geneva Bible wasn't so butchered. And is it possible we could, artist, maybe you want to comment on that? Is it possible if we started looking at that and doing some translating out of that rather than the King James, it might reveal some more truth? I mean, let's face it, there's not a whole...
I don't know. I hadn't really been reading
Yeah,
the
me
Geneva,
neither.
so I
We
couldn't
go
really tell
further
you.
back than that, which is
I don't know.
kind of what you should try to lead her into. I think it's like, okay, well,
Right.
I forgot, what is it, 60,000 changes from the Geneva to the King James?
So more than
I don't know if that's
likely
right.
they
It
were
might be
bad
20,000.
changes.
Well, it's
Whatever.
changes to fit
And you sit
narratives
there and
and
say they were right. That's the point. This Geneva Bible.
Make
but
sure
I'm
that
gonna
little
buy
short
one and-
video I have on
You should buy
On
the
John
Greek, the Greek
1:1.
Septuagint. I know they have one that has the English and the Greek in it, kind of like the Torah does, where it has half of it in Greek and the other half, or in this, like the footnotes maybe on the sideline or something.
know exactly what you're talking about. I used to have one actually back in seminary.
It does read a little different in the Greek Septuagint than it does the
it
King
definitely
James,
does,
for
yeah.
sure.
But I haven't looked at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a lot at all, because I just wanted to go back further. I'm like, nah, if I see that many changes here, let's go back even further and see what changes have happened there.
Well, I think words always stand out to
You
me
think
because I
she-
took Latin. And so I go for that root, and I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah. Well, if the Latin,
Maybe show her the parable thing
Right.
about the parables and that they mean a comparison.
Right.
And then do that little short video I got together and look up the verses and compare. You know. She might see the Yahweh thing that way, in a simple way,
what,
like not a...
artist, you're friends with her on Facebook, and when you post your videos and stuff, she sees them. And
Hey, I
listen, coming from me right now, And I've been as loving as I think I can possibly be with this, to the point where, I am the kind of guy that tends to want to put his foot down now and then when certain things are out of order. I don't know. I'm not a dictator by any means, and I believe in equality. Different, yes. Equal, yes. So we're just different, but it doesn't mean one is better than the other. Her purpose is just as important in the relationship as mine. So that y'all know that, but perhaps she'll check out some of your videos. I don't know. Right now, she probably feels like I joined a cult. I don't really care. I mean, well, I care, but I mean, what's more important, your marriage or the truth? Does it need to come to that? These are the real grassroots things that
Oh, that's a big one there. It's like, the truth of the Father speaks is always first and foremost, really.
Yes.
But it's hard. It's like it's a hard situation. But maybe like that's what I was thinking. Those little short videos I've got, like one or two of those, show her those, and
I believe too that
because that way I know Sam really clicked with the one I did on the world, that he came for the world, and then I showed where they mistranslated that last verse on purpose, and he was like, wow, you're right, and that's the only thing he's clicked on so far, so.
Well, Father has a way to reach her, and I don't think any of my little tactics are gonna cut the mustard. I think he is going to intervene, and she's gonna see it. She's picking up little bits and pieces. The fact that she blew up about the infallible Word of God because my nephew came to visit. We were sitting out on the back porch, and she overheard us, and we were talking about how this King James Version's a joke. And I don't think I realized she overheard this, and that's why I got the infallible Word of God speech. But listen, it doesn't mean Father isn't trying to break through to her. I don't think the power is within me at all. I think it's going to take some divine intervention. And I thought surely she would see that the devil is in this Baptist church down here, lock, stock, and barrel. And I told her I have mentioned that I don't like all this burning and hell stuff that he preaches down there. And this thing, if you got to come up to the altar and mumble this prayer with him, and if you've never done that, you're gonna burn in hell. Well, let me tell you about my Christian getting saved thing experience. I was in a electrical workshop in Erie, Pennsylvania when, what do you call it there, the sinner's prayer and all that rigmarole or whatever. That's when it happened to me. I never went down to some altar and mumbled something with a priest, and then now I'm going to heaven. So Julie is starting to question some of the bullshit. Some of the BS down here. Some of the BS going on down. I don't know about the TikTok rules. I know there are some things you can't say.
No, it's okay.
So she is beginning to question some of these things, and so hey, I'm going to remain optimistic, and
well, Eric knows the truth too. I mean, he knows what it is.
Yeah, we had some great conversations. It was a real oasis in a desert for me.
Yeah, I led him to that because I talked to him all the time, and he used to be involved in Discord, so I'm listening. And
he was telling me, he said, "Oh, I love it." He said, "There's so much truth in what
child is talking about here. And he said, I just don't have the time. He's real
Yeah, he's
career
very
driven.
busy. Yeah, he is. And he's doing well in his
I mean,
career, but he still talks to me
he's,
all the time, and I still try to say, hey, this, hey, this, that, whatever. But
but for him, it's a big time issue. He says, he said, so,
yeah, he doesn't have the time like me.
oh, he would, his hope and prayer is that he could go to a church somewhere that believes what we believe for just an hour. He said, it don't need to be no Sunday morning junk or anything, just where we could all sit around for maybe an hour a week. He said, I would be down for that. He says, but the online stuff, it's a
It's
bit
too much
much
for
for
him.
him. Yeah, is kind of how he put it. But it was put well. And, yeah, he's a good kid. He left this afternoon.
I'm not sure that it's going to mean eternal, like punishment or
I
anything
don't
like that.
either.
Because he talked about that those that receive a prophet receive a prophet's
Yeah.
reward,
Yeah.
and those that receive, there's like three different
Right.
things. Those that receive me receive him that sent me.
Yeah.
And but he said the one that gives a glass of water to the least of these children that needs it, it's like they're something about the children. If you do that, then that's the greatest reward of all. So I think there's going to be a lot of understanding of where the person's heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they a good person? Do they care about others? Do they love their neighbor? Do they love,
Right.
do they love people, or are they hateful, or,
Hello, Jacqueline.
Hi.
Let's start getting
Hey.
mean and nasty.
Hey, how you
So we can
doing?
get this live going now.
Well, I'm sitting here with my husband Chuck, okay? And
Okay.
he's just so happy that, we have come to this understanding that, who is who and what's what, and we're not under the gun, so to speak.
Right?
And it just makes, it makes sense, so much sense. And I've been telling people 1 John 1:5, that's the measuring stick, right? There's no darkness in our Father at all. He's not the homicidal
Right.
maniac that we thought that he was. He just isn't, right? And
Right.
if we want to reunite with him, then, our heart had best be right? Because we have to be right to be with him. Otherwise, if we have darkness in us, we repel. That's at least the way I look at it, right? So
Yeah.
the other lady that was talking about, her grandmother, where did she go? If her heart was right, she's with the Father.
Yeah, because I've met people in the church, and it's like, I think you have Father in you. I think the way that you're talking and treat people and the way you lived your life is that way. I mean, they get lost a little bit in that whole church thing sometimes, because then they'll start saying the fire and the brimstone and the sword and and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's not really our Father, but at least you're staying away from that.
Don't forget the blood. Don't forget the blood in that list. You gotta.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being washed in the blood.
And, so
Yeah,
now
I
it all
know.
makes sense, right? All of that bloodbath of the Old Testament with all these animals and people being slaughtered left and right and burnt. And I mean, it was
It's all
like,
Yahweh.
yeah, and what a relief that,
So
our
your husband
Father.
agrees with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's so great.
yeah, he agrees.
That's really beautiful.
Our closest friends agree. My dad, he can see it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why we're so blessed to be able to all come to this understanding at the same time. It was just like bang, 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 bang. And, and I have to, I got to give Golan her props. I mean, all the research you've done and the videos that you've put out, and now these lives. And, we were creeping to this truth, and, like flirting with it in a way, but you know, that fear comes and gets you. It's like, you know,
Oh yeah.
because you, right? But, you know, we received the confirmation, and then, you know, you put us in the right place to do our own comparisons, our own research. It's like a huge help up. So thank you again. The Father is working through you guys. And, you know, I know that I've told you this before, but I got to tell you again, thank you so much for what you're doing. The Father's working through you. Keep up the good work. Bravo. We are just over the moon, appreciative, and, you know, we can't tell you enough. So I know that you get, like I told you before, punched in the face and insulted and spat upon and this and that. And even in my little, I don't know, the last couple of weeks, I've told some people, and boy, they think, you know, you've really lost it this time, Jackie, right? But oh well, you know, what can I do? Put the truth out there. If people want to reject, I can't. There's nothing I can do about that. But at least, you know, seed planted, move on to the next. So you guys really helped to drag us out of the dark. Thank you. Thank the Father, and I know this is the Father working through you. All props to
Absolutely.
Him, and just thank you. Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, we know that, and we wouldn't know any of this without Father's help. And that's one thing that I've definitely learned, and artists will say the same. It's Father showing us these things at this point in time. It's sad that we've been so long without this truth, but now it all makes sense, and now we're seeing it. So
I know something, Vic, that Julie might resonate with. Has she ever studied Judges 11?
Uh, Probably she does most of her Bible study in the Old Testament and in Paul's writings. All of her studies are in there. I've actually,
yeah,
I would take her to Judges 11 and say, let's just sit down and discuss Judges 11 for a few minutes. And just kind of read over it and look at it and say, okay, this guy wanted to win this battle so he could have this guy's property or whatever. And so he said that he swore an oath to Yahweh, he would unalive the first thing that come in his house as an offering to him. And Yahweh accepts his thing, and he unalives his own daughter. And ask her how that lines up with for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son.
yeah, see, that's a great idea. And I need to find something that'll break the ice here. But she's cool with that dualistic, this, you know, she believes Father will, you know what I'm saying? She's all into this dual, and
Right.
well, that's just the way that's just the way Jesus is. And
Well, that's a clear-cut story with there's been no sin done. There's no reason for him to come and do that, except to give the guy a reward that he wants so he can take over somebody else's property. And then relate it to your neighbor. Does she have any
yes,
children?
a daughter.
Yeah, good. She's got a daughter. Relate it to it. Say, what if that was, and I made that vow to Yahweh, and then I took her up on the mountain and I unalived her. What would you think then? Turn it to modern day, and make her really think about it really happening, because people don't think about this as, it's like it's stories, and we're so desensitized to violence and all this stuff because of TVs and stuff. It's like, but they don't really think about that in their head. What if, except, well, I want the farm next door, and so I'm going to make a vow to Yahweh, and the first thing that comes through that door,
Right.
I'm going to unalive it for him on a Holocaust, and then it happens to be her daughter that walks through. How would she feel then? And so, isn't that evil, Julie? Don't you
Great
think that's
point.
evil?
That's awesome.
Because you gotta put it in a terms that they can relate to right now, right here and now. And we can't even imagine that kind of thing happening. But yet you're gonna worship something that would do that? It's like I could kick myself. Just tell her that too. Glonna told me she could kick herself from here to the next year for ever even buying into it. It's
me
like
too. 43 years wrapped up in it. Yeah.
because I get so mad at myself. It's like, why didn't I see it sooner?
Imagine
what was wrong
we
with
could
me?
have accomplished. If we were, wow. You know what, Jackal?
We've been in our 20s or 30s when we realized this, and just like come out of it and been doing this, helping people see it. We could have accomplished so much.
Just listening to Jackie there, and this is really, I've listened to Child and Sally and Elaine talking, and I'm like, this is going to be something huge. And why it didn't break through. And I think one of my first questions to you, artist, was, has anybody ever written a book on this? I mean, it just, certainly we can't be the first group of people. I know there are others out there, but I mean, I think we're probably the only TikTok group that is really fully centered around this. And why wasn't this seen? Maybe it was, and it was just, hushed on, pushed on.
I still worry, is my heart in the best place
Right.
it can be to go home? Because if I couldn't see this, how am I handling my everyday? Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Because this has really made me stop and pause and change how I do things and how I interact with people. And I still catch myself sometimes being the same old person. I'll go, oh, dude, stop that. Why are you doing that? It's like,
funny. So years ago, it was probably almost 5 years ago now, before I really had a relationship with artist here, and I was messaging her, and I'm like, how do I live my life? How do I do this? And she just didn't even respond. It's like, what kind of question is that? Like, I don't know yet. She.
I didn't know yet. I didn't know what to tell people yet. It's like I was still experiencing it myself.
I was
it's
so
like,
desperate.
Let's get together and see if we can
just
figure
when
it
you
out.
invited me,
It's
you're
like,
just join Discord. Let's join Discord. Let's talk. I was like, how do I do this?
That's funny you remember that.
Because I remember you didn't answer, and I was like, oh man, what am I doing wrong? Or that was so many years ago now. But
it's such a change in your. She's right. Jennifer's right. It's like it's such a change in your heart. It's a drastic change, and I think I'm even worried about how am I going to fit into a world that's perfect like Father's.
Right.
Can I function there?
Right.
No problems. It's like I'm so used to problem solving. It's like I was a nurse. I problem solved. I was a paramedic. I problem solved.
What will it?
Then I've problem solved with this. It's like,
what will life be like?
I mean, I'm just being honest with y'all.
well, it's the same for me and Pat, because it's like my dad with electrical issues, being basically an electrician and almost an electrical engineer, and figuring out things for people. Me being a mechanic, figuring out problems for people, fixing their problems. And I mean, yeah, that's what we're doing here. We're all dealing with the problems. But I don't think we're going to be dealing with those problems there. I think it'll be a relief finally.
I think it will too. I really do. And I don't think Father would brought us this far, to have us, I'm just going to be intimidated when I get there. I'm like, it took me 60 years. I'm sorry. It's like, it's
well,
like,
for me, it's like I'm almost half your age. I'm 30 years younger. And we've been through a lot. We've talked about a lot, and It's like even when I went through a breakup of 12 years and she didn't care about anything about these things we're talking about, and then here comes along a person that knows and understands every little thing that we're talking about. Because for me, I still feel like I have life to live. I still feel like there's some sort of future, whether it goes whichever direction it goes. But I can't even imagine myself trying to be with somebody that didn't understand this at this point. Because where I'm at, I'm too deep into it, and then just having somebody that just comes along and is like, I understand every single little thing that you're talking about to the deepest level. It's like, wow, okay. That to me, that is Father, and we've talked about that many times because we're like, this is just so wild to us that, uh, I'm still young. I want, if I'm gonna have a partner in life, I want them to know this and understand this and be able to teach it and show people as well. Because I can't find somebody that's
Right.
just, I don't know, and take the risk on that.
I think the biggest hurdle in all relationships is
Yeah.
communication. It's like if you got to get down on her level and say, "Honey, I need this. I need to talk.
Right.
I have to share my innermost feelings with you, and I love you enough to want to do that. Can we just sit
Well,
down
we
and talk?"
have. And
You know.
when I talked about
Mm-hmm.
not being able to go to this church anymore, uh, past couple days I've been and I'm was just opening up to her, saying I don't know if, I mean, this fighting and all this crazy, if I don't come down here and pray this prayer at this altar, uh, here with this pastor guy, I'm gonna burn it with the flame torches, blow torches for the rest of eternity. I says, and I was just, I think I'm on track as far as opening up to her and talking to her, but I think it needs to come in little bits, and her type of personality, the last person, that these truths are not going to come from me. I'm just telling you right now, and yeah,
That's sad, because she should be the first person
well,
you
you would
turn
think
to.
so. You would think so, and
Yeah.
she speaks it, but her actions are so differently, and so patience and love, and letting Father work and reveal. I can tell she's fighting it, and she's fighting it because she knows that, number one, I love her, and that I'm an intelligent person. I have a good ability to sit down and think logically and with reason about any topic presented to me. And, in this day and age, we're bombarded with junk. And look at these poor souls coming in here. Some of the wild stuff. And they're not coming in here to ask questions about the truth. They're not even seeking the truth. They're coming in here to reinforce Yahweh's blood thing, Yahweh's church. That's all it is.
Incantations.
Yes, the rituals and the
They chose the darkness and they don't want to get out of it. They're in
pride
it.
would keep you from it, or whatever you get. So,
He said when he was here, work while you have the
Yes.
light, because there's darkness. And he said, don't let your light be darkness. And that used to confuse me so bad. I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah. But with Julie, it's going to be just little bites, like a quarter of a teaspoon a week type of a thing.
Think about how me and you, think about how the process of me telling you these things, because you didn't understand it, you didn't know it, but I know it's a father-son thing, but I'm saying that I did an immense effort to understand where you're at, to understand your life, to understand what you've been through, your life experience, to meet you where you're at. and then start a little point there and say, okay, well, I know my
Right.
dad's this, I know my dad's that. And so I knew how to approach the conversation correctly. And then I said, okay, well, let's start here. And what do you think about this? And I could get you to agree on certain things. Fortunately for us, the conversation progressed pretty quickly because it was you actually listened to me, which
I
that's
want to say
rare.
this. I
And go ahead.
I want to say this too, son, that prior to my hunger for the truth in the last, I hate to use the flat earth thing because I'm so far from that right now.
Yeah,
since
because I
this
remember bringing that to you, and you were like, "You're crazy." And
But what it opened my eyes up to, what it opened my eyes up to was what lies, the level of lies that we have been bombarded with in our lives. And so it really gave me a hunger for the truth that's second to none. And hey, I don't want to hijack anything tonight, but I really appreciate you all listening to me. This. I don't know if there's anybody else in this room or group that has a spouse that is in my situation. My heart goes out to you, and I just want to encourage.
I have a sister. I'm in that situation because of a sister. It's like everybody has somebody that doesn't know yet that might be resistant to it.
So maybe we are on topic.
You know?
I don't know. I mean, what's more important? Our loved ones are very important to us, and we want them to see the truth. And I'm going to fall back into this thing about divine intervention and divine revelation. I think we can whip up a lot of little earthly tactics here, sit down and read Judges 11 to her, which is excellent. But really, at the end of the day, for me, it was Father touching me. And so, that's my prayer to him right now. And
even when we talked, it was, I felt that I'm like, okay, this is the time. This is when I need to say something. Right. And I had that overwhelming feeling. Timing. I'm like, okay, and now I got to say something. But I'm so thankful that you listened. I'm very thankful of that. And you didn't think I was stupid or nothing. You didn't name call. You didn't do any of that. I mean, it's hard.
I have to say, I don't know if it's the internet or what, but your generation, child, is so much more intelligent than my generation was when we were in our mid-30s. It blows me away. And I mean, the amount of information that 35-year-olds have today compared to when I was a 35-year-old, it is just, and I mean, look what Golanon's doing now with information she's receiving. That would have been unheard of on this level 30 years ago.
Right, and nobody was talking this. Nobody was talking this at all.
Well,
it's even like really Paulina. Paulina can talk and say she's the same age as me, and she's made me question things. She's made me think about things. I'll have to agree on some levels, but then there's a lot of people my age that they don't know nothing. They don't want to know nothing. They want to remain ignorant. Like, oh, what does it matter? None of that matters. I'm just doing this. I love the pharmaceutical industry. I love the medical industry. I love society, how it is. And it's like, well, if you don't see a problem with all that, probably not going to question much else. Anyways, Jacqueline and Jennifer on the panel. If you wanted to say something, please say something. We're just talking. We're rambling. And hold on, let me look at it. Let's read in the chat. I mean, that's awesome, though. Oh, go ahead, Jennifer. You're unmuted.
Oh, no, I was just unmuting to be ready to say something. Go ahead.
Say whatever you like.
don't think I have anything new to add. If we want to get back on to some kind of topic, there's the Revelation has been very, very, of course, front and center lately. And so I go back and forth when I read Revelation and I say, okay, well, this is kind of like the Old Testament where you can see parts of Jesus in there, but most of it looks like Yahweh to me. But then you go back and you go, well, okay, maybe this is flipped upside down. Maybe the whole story is being told by the perspective of Yahweh, and everything that looks bad is actually good, and everything that looks good is actually bad. And so I just go back and I read through and I read through and I read through, and I just haven't really settled on anything being concrete because it just
I don't like
looks
Revelation, to be honest, but yeah,
it looks
I
like
think
a
it's just the
mishmash.
Christ.
A
Yeah.
mishmash of all the stories, or even you could take Revelation back to the beginning of the story and it's actually a play-by-play of everything that happened through the Old Testament and the New Testament. I don't know. It just feels like it's like everything all rolled into one. So I don't know. What does everybody else think? Is there any glaring themes that stick out as being like, I definitely see this? And
It's almost like it repeats or something. It's like get everybody underneath the Yahweh umbrella and on that side, and then pour out the wrath and start over again. It's like it's almost like it happens over and over to me.
The part that gets
Yeah.
me is the fiery eyes, and it's like the Son of Man, not the Son of Man. It's like the Son of Man, and then all the destruction and stuff like that. But then at the same time, it also talks about gathering them all together and those who didn't take the mark, and then you go, oh well, wait, that doesn't sound like it could be Yahweh talking, or even the Son of Yahweh talking. That sounds like it could be Jesus talking. But
see, he sets up, when you look at the Old Testament, he sets up a foolish shepherd that won't take care of the sheep. So it's like he could set up that mark.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because it says in Isaiah he will give him a sign, and it's a tav, and a tav is a cross. And it's like it's similar to the exactly what they're carrying around now. But it's like he set up a sign, that, and then he has the mark of his mark, the keeping the Torah and putting the little phylactery on and all that. But I think they set it up. I think it was set up basically for the non-Jews to go under the Noahide
exactly.
laws.
I think so too. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, because there's been kind of a lot of mention lately about, well, who's really talking about this? And so, we have a list of people that we know that are actually out there talking about it. And what I find really interesting about it, and I don't know where you, Golan, sit with this, is everybody looks at the New Jerusalem that comes down as being I've heard it called the return to the garden. I've heard it called literally the kingdom of God and of heaven. I've heard it called the new world and all this. And I'm looking at that and I just don't see it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So what do you see when you see the New Jerusalem coming down?
I think it's Rome and the Vatican.
And that's what's so crazy about everybody that's on the same level as us, as talking about Yahweh and who he is they all seem to go off on these branches, and I just study it because I'm like, my goodness, all of them are seeing this. I must be missing something. But I read it over and over and over again, and I'm like, I just don't see it. This just doesn't look good to me. This looks like everything that whether it's the proper term or not, everything that the Jewish ever wanted was their own kingdom to rule and reign over. And that's what it looks like to me. And that's what it looks like to me as the start of the new, like we've talked about, the new starting over, and everybody being under rule and law, and going through the whole cycle.
Because all kings do run to Rome. The minute they're elected from all countries, even Saudi, even Russia, they all run to the Pope. What is going on there? Why do they
I was
run
just
and
gonna
kiss
say,
the
and
ring
they
of the
all
Pope?
kiss his ring, and they all visit, and they give him
Mm-hmm.
gifts, and visit the
Mm-hmm.
Wailing Wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that was what was set up in the end of
Seems like
Revelation.
it to me. And it's nice to to hear that from somebody else.
And it looks like streets of gold if you look at it when the sun's coming up or the sun's going down, and you see pictures of Rome. It looks like paved streets of gold. It looks golden. But I do think that's
do
it. I really
too.
do.
And especially when you look at, like, Jesus literally said, I go to prepare a place for you. I will bring you to it. He didn't say, I'm going to prepare a place and I'm going to bring it to you. And we're going to set it out. We're going to set it up
No.
here. But I did read this today, and this made me start wondering and start looking into it a little bit more. Now, Matthew is a little bit of a difficult book because it seems to be directed more towards the Jews, and that would be more of like the Christ figure. But it was, and I think it's only said in Matthew, but the meek will inherit the earth, right? The meek are
Right.
inheriting the earth, but I would not call that meek if we're talking on this level, right? Does that make sense? I hear
Right.
goal on typing, so maybe we're going somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna see if I had anything that might
Do you
help
prefer artist or goal
show
one?
some of it. It doesn't matter either one. I'll answer either one. Oh, that's not it.
Well, I gotta say, the last thing I want to inherit is this place,
Yeah, right?
the earth. So I don't know if that helps clarify anything. I mean,
Well, it wasn't always called the earth. It was the landmass, The earth is a newer word.
right? Yeah, true.
And
That's a good point, actually.
Salem, Rome, isn't that Rome?
Yeah, I'd like the seals with the 7 seals, I think, are the 7 sacraments of the Catholic Church. Right there. Let me see if I can pull that up. So who can break that thing? Baptism, confirmation, Eucharist. Because they're sealed and they're written on both sides.
One represents one of the angels that fell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we're given the keys to the bottomless pit. The keys, Peter's keys. I see a lot of things, the similarities between Revelation and the Catholic Church.
And they scare everybody with it, so why not?
Right. Let's see. Yeah, the 7 spirits too. The 7 stars, the 7 churches, the 7 angels. And Jesus said, that he takes into self the other wicked spirits. House is cleaned. One goes out, 7 more wicked spirits come in.
Yeah.
It's like they got rid of one, but then they just put it right back.
And then, of course, you have the part where, the drag, or, the dragon.
I don't know if y'all can see that or not. That's a St. Joseph. Look at that. Cups under him after he's speared. Yeah, that's actually the book that I joined the Catholic Church under. It's the Baltimore Catechism. I had a hard time finding one because it was so old, but I think all that's the cup that he dishes out to drink, you know, and they will drink it.
My goodness.
Yeah, I see a lot of this stuff. I don't know. I had another one too. I'm trying to remember what I did with it. Peter, I think, fulfilled something in Daniel too. Where it says devour much meat. That's in there too. And I don't think people know that Ancient of Days is actually, ancient means old, weaned, and removed. But I found a lot of the stuff. This is a lot of research I've done that I hadn't really even shown. I've been researching for 10 years. Oh, I didn't do that right. I didn't spell it right. Let's open another one. So I've got several of them. Nope, that one don't have anything in it. One of them I had just packed full of stuff, and I can't remember which one it was. Because I'll get started working on something, I just keep going. 20. Did I put anything in that one? Nope.
I can see a lot of parallels with the Baptist Church in some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
when you showed the 7 sacraments there, the baptism, this thing about receiving the Holy Ghost, I don't know what all that is. And then they're going to speak in the tongues and all this when they get it. And, well, I don't know if they do that down here. Who knows? I kind of turned myself off lately when I go in there. But at any rate, I see similarities there.
Shoot.
It's really good.
Something.
They do the speaking in tongues down here because before I learned this truth, I was baptized at a Pentecostal church. And then a week later, the pastor literally told me I wasn't saved because I wasn't speaking in tongues. And I think that was the beginning of me waking up when that happened.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's wild. That stuff is like totally demonic.
Right.
Have you ever heard somebody do that?
It devastated me at the time. It really did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thinking that I made this decision to be saved and then to have the pastor tell me because I'm not speaking in tongues, I'm not. And I hadn't,
Well, it's the same thing down here, Sally, at this Baptist church. If you don't come down here and mumble something, prayer up here at the altar with me, you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have been listening to this for a year, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore, honey.
Do they have do you have to bring your own interpreter?
I feel for you, Vic. I've been listening.
Because you're supposed to have an interpreter, so.
Thanks, son. I appreciate that. It's going to be all right, though.
Like, I don't think people, they don't realize that the tetramorph that was on the front of the 4 Gospels is actually the beast in Daniel and Ezekiel. This probably shows it better right there. See, that's your front of a Catholic for the 4 Gospels, and you've got, the eagle, the lion, and all that stuff is the same.
Look at that!
As
wow,
the beast.
That is wild.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny because you've got the same thing on witchcraft tarot cards.
Whoa!
It matches.
Yeah, it's safe to say that we've all walked our own path for a very good reason. And just like you've said, even going through your days of past, it's really set you up for being able to identify things that you're saying today.
Right. See, like he set up a likeness, an image. that was wounded by the sword yet lived. They have a big sword wound in the side of Jesus on the, see it?
Now,
I don't know if you can see
isn't
that.
this
See that very
supposedly
good or not?
supposed to happen to their Antichrist too? He'll be mortally wounded or something, right?
A head
Yeah,
wound of
and
some
then
sort.
he'll be
And then you've got,
miraculously same old story, you know?
okay, and it says that the beast that you saw was and is not and is about to come from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. Okay, we're in the underworld.
Yeah.
Jesus told us it goes to destruction. Yahweh means destruction. So this the whole intent of setting up this beast is to send everybody to Yahweh. And it says of people whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, because it was, is not, and is to come. And everybody's still waiting for it to come back. But see, if you read Paul and all, it's Yahweh coming back. Because he said they'd be caught up in the clouds with the Lord. There's no Jesus mentioned. But yet they think Jesus is the one coming to get them. And they set up all this stuff, like the cups and and I think that was the wrath, to make them drink blood, because drinking blood was actually against the Old Testament law. It's like the cup of the blessing that we bless, and it was Paul that set that up.
A question I have, do you think Father's going to come and pull us out of this world of this underworld?
I hope so. I'm really hoping so.
I don't want to have to go
I don't
through
know,
all
'cause
this with, who knows, are they holograms?
I know, Jesus said that we might have to endure till the end, though. In Matthew 24, he says we may have to endure to the end. And I think they're resetting up with AI and the computers. I think they're resetting up a new Christ.
Yeah, to fit in with their Noahide laws and everything. I think.
See, the first was like a lion and an eagle, and I was looking, and its wings were plucked off and lifted up from the earth and gone to stand like a man, and it was given a man's heart. It's an image. It's not even a real thing.
Wow.
See, they gave him a heart. In the Catholic Church, he has a heart on everything, every statue. And it's dripping blood, or it's got fire, or, I'm just kind of hodgepodge showing y'all a little of this, but it's something I've been working on for a long time.
They work, Yahweh works on images, I believe. That screenshot you just showed with this halo thing around his head. What is up with that? The halo?
Oh, that's
I always see this halo thing.
They put a halo. It's supposed to mean like the saint or somebody that has this Holy Spirit, behind them.
Okay,
on their head,
not huge significance there, but
yeah.
I always wondered about that. It never really looked weird to me.
You know how Peter said when he saw the unclean meat, and he said he was telling me to rise and devour much flesh. That's in Daniel too. And I think some of this is spiritually, like devour, not like physically, But they do actually think that the body and blood changes into the actual body and blood of Jesus Christ.
The transubstantiation is what they call it.
Then you got Hosea saying, "So I am become like a lion to them, like a leopard, and watched by the way like a bear that robbed their young, and I attacked them and ripped them open, and the enclosure of their heart, and there I devour them like a lion, a wild beast, I tear them apart." I think it has to do with the, when they did Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they did the lion, the ox, the man, and the eagle. It's like they have the same beastie stuff on the front. Like the lion literally has like wings on him. When you look at Revelations reading, it's like they're described exactly the same. It's wild. I've done so many comparisons and looked at so much that my brain's about dead, I think.
How?
Yeah. See, the altar is actually Peter's altar. When he sees, in a trance, I saw a certain vessel descending like a giant sheet, and it was let down by the heavens by the four corners, and it came to me. And then he saw the four-footed beast of the earth and the wild beast and the birds of heaven and everything there. I think that was this actual. See, that's the top of St. Peter's altar. I think that's the sheet that he was seeing come down. And it's got some nasty looking stuff on it, if you could see that clearer. It's got these weird, gross faces all around it. But I think he was seeing the canopy over his own grave where they do the mass. Because his bones are underneath the floor right there where they stand. But there's a lot to all this. But I'm wondering if they didn't write the Old Testament after the New Testament.
They did.
And
Or
try
at
to
least
make
have
this happen.
this weird
because
rendition of it that's come way later, because the evidence really does show that it's like, well, where is all this Hebrew, everything that we're trying to see historically? It would make sense with what you're saying. And sorry, Bella, if you have something to add to that.
No,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
was written after the new.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I mean, that's something you can't really,
yeah.
you can't even start a live with something like that, because it's going to be too much
It's
for
so
people.
much. It's so much involved. But I wanted to show y'all that it all kind of fits with the Catholic Church to
Look
me.
at them all. They all got horns.
The more I've looked at it.
Except the eagle there. Got
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
horns up on there.
saw the little video I had
Yeah.
of the Abbey there in the UK in London.
Right.
I
saw that.
Yeah, they broke off all the horns, and people say, "Oh, well, that just happens because of statues, and they were just the protruding things, and that's why." No, they broke them off on purpose. They were there at a certain point in time, and then people started asking questions. The same thing when they say, "Oh, why are all the noses?" You know, I watched I looked at a history post today. It was big. It had tens of thousands of views, and one of the big comments in there, like, "Why are all the noses broke off in this time period?" And I'm like, I know, because that was the big aesthetic characteristic of those people, that they didn't want you to know that that's who they were.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with all this Catholic
too.
stuff.
Yeah. They wouldn't let you film in the one Catholic
And
church
I'm wondering,
they were having the service, and they were like, "No phones, no phones." I'm like, I should have put my phone in my pocket on record before I walked in, because that service was, man, I wanted to show that to people. It was something, just, what is going on?
and they have these books. It's like they have the book of, like, when you join, you're written into the confirmation book, and then they have an excommunication book, you know, and it says that a fiery stream issued forth from them, and before him were thousands ministered to him, and 10,000 of 10,000 stood with him, and judgment was set, and the books were opened. You know, I think they think all these books are Yahweh's books, I think, and I think that they're going to open them, and for the people left here that don't belong to Jesus, and that's going to be deciding factors whether you're in that book or not. and this is really heavy duty for me, guys, more so probably than anybody, because I used to be Catholic. So I went through that confirmation and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I took the mark of the beast. It's like, but then I listen to Jesus' words and I don't get worried anymore. It's like they can set up whatever they want to set up here.
Yeah, I don't think he has any power over Father other than magic
No.
tricks and illusions and this type of thing. It's, and people talk about this too. It just all he does is nothing more than an illusion. There's only power in it if the spell only works on those that believe. I don't know how that works.
I didn't see Eileen left. I didn't tell her good night.
Yeah.
I was busy looking at that.
Folks are I'm getting tired.
Of course, I burn the midnight oil every
sure
night.
do.
A lot of times I start at 5 a.m. and I don't end until 2 a.m. and I sleep 3 hours and I do it again.
I can't thank you enough for all your hard work and wow,
That's
for
the
me,
same for my cousin. He wanted me to tell you the same. He's like, thank you for all the hard work and all the hours and everything you put into everything, because there's so many people that can't do that.
If I hadn't worked that hard, I wouldn't know what I know right now, though. But I had a lot of catching up to do. I didn't study that hard for years, It's like, if I'd have studied some every night for years and years and years, I might have been there already. I hear crickets.
That might be me.
There's not many out here. I hear the crickets too.
I'm sitting outside.
Yeah, that's cute though.
Is that you, Jen? You got crickets out there,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Lots
That's
of-
fun.
Sounds nice.
But I hope it's helped other people.
It
It's
sure
helped
has.
me.
It's been a real blessing, and wow, to be set free from all this Yahweh stuff. I can't describe it. That I'm not under this heavy burden of, if I miss church, or I don't give the right amount of money, or do, I think it's just to be released from all this religious BS that they've crammed down our throats all our lives. It's awesome. I'm telling you, it's awesome.
I don't think Father needs our money. I think he needs our hearts.
Well,
I
don't think Father needs this church thing.
No.
And, he is so far above all of this. It's like when he said, "Don't call me the Christ." He's so far above.
You see
it.
all these things as primitive. I mean, it's like
right.
No,
it
purpose.
Really is very crude.
Really, no point.
Primitive. Yeah, no point. It's a moot thing. Well, listen, y'all. I'm getting a little sleepy here, and I had a long day, and I want to thank you. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I thank y'all.
Oh, thank you all for coming. I hope I didn't go over too much or talk too much.
It was awesome. Love y'all. Good night.
I love you guys too. I'm going to shut it down, guys. Y'all have a good evening.
Love you. Good night.
Night.